Courtroom, please. Now, this is case number 154 on the calendar in the matter of Johnson versus Ishmael. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Bert, I'd like you to do me a favor. Since there is a potential for there being some serious yelling there by me, you can take these two children and see to it that they amuse themselves elsewhere.
Gotcha. Come this way.
Miss Johnson, according to the complaint that I've read, you rented a house.
An apartment unit.
Or an apartment unit in a little complex.
Yes.
Where the defendant also lived.
Yes.
The owner of that apartment unit is her mother.
Yes.
You, according to you, have the right to use the driveway because the driveway can only accommodate one car, and if a second car is pulled behind your car, you can't get out.
Yes.
So far, is that right?
Yes.
That the unit is rented to the plaintiff. She has the right to use the driveway.
I don't know what agreement they had.
Do you have an agreement?
Yes, I do have
I'd like
an agreement.
to see it, please.
That the agreement, the landlord gave her a copy of this. She has a
I'd
copy
like to
of
see
that.
it, please. So this is an agreement by your mother, who's the owner of the property.
Correct.
The owner of the property gives exclusive use of the driveway to Miss Johnson.
I have no knowledge of that agreement.
I don't believe you. In any event, you are bound by it.
Okay, can I ask you a question? If I don't know anything about it, how am I bound by it? Because I have no copy of that, no knowledge.
Listen to me. I find that you knew that you were not supposed to use the driveway. Don't speak.
Okay.
Just listen.
Okay.
I find that because even in your answer to her complaint, you say, I only left my car there for a minute while I was dropping off groceries. So you knew very well, because unless you don't speak to your mother.
Correct.
And if you didn't speak to your mother, she wouldn't let you live there. So I find that you knew exactly what is contained in this letter of agreement.
That's
and
not true.
you can say no from today till tomorrow. My job is to figure out who's telling the truth. And you don't want me to label you a liar before we even start, right?
Right. But
Good. So I suggest you keep your mouth shut until I get to you.
No problem.
Were those your children?
Correct.
Which is why I put them out. According to your complaint, there have been ongoing problems with the defendant with regard to parking behind your car.
Yes.
When did they start?
It started in April of this year.
What happened this year that made this problem occur?
Well, when the contract was originally written in December, Adrian at the time was not included nor excluded because at the time she lived in the front house. She didn't have a car at the time, but when she had a car years ago, she parked her car in front of the house. So April 2005, she pulled her car up behind me and blocked me, and I have pictures.
When did she get a car?
I didn't even know that was her car. When I called her mother and said I'm blocked in, and she asked me to describe the car, she said, oh, that's Adrian's car. So I saw that same car parked on the curb, like in the street. I thought it was abandoned because it doesn't have a license plate on it, and there's no VIN number.
I see the pictures.
So I had no idea that that was even her car. Her mother had to tell me it was her car, so I don't know. This is a picture of her car.
Prior to that, there had been no difficulty because she did, according to you, either didn't have a car, or if she did, it was parked in the front of the house.
That's correct. At the time,
Okay.
we were just not on speaking terms. But there were no problems with her parking the car back there because she always parked in the
Any
front.
reason why you weren't on speaking terms with her?
We've never gotten along since childhood, and
So you know each other for a long time.
Exactly. Our personalities are just very different. You know, we keep very different friends, and her ways have made me decide that she's not a person that I want to even hang around with.
Okay, so the first time was in April.
In April.
When was the next time?
The next time was on April 15th. She blocked me in for about 4 hours. I called the Department of Transportation and the police, and they called me on the phone to find out 4 hours later if the car had been moved. And by that time, she had driven off. The next time she blocked me in was on May 20th. She blocked me in for about an hour.
Did you ring her bell? Did you try to call her?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I definitely did. I always, you know, I holler because our door, the way my door sits, is her backyard is my front yard. So I call her, or I have my daughter go knock on the door. I don't have her phone number, and she wouldn't let me out. She'd be like, I'll move my car whenever I want to. So on the 29th, when she blocked me in, her mother was out of town, and I was getting ready to go to work. She pulled up behind me, blocked me in. So I said, Adrian, you need to be quiet. I have to go to work. I'll move whenever I want to move. So she walked into the house, and I'm like, now what am I going to do? The police called me 4 hours later. They never showed up. So I figured the best way to get her to move her car is to make her feel like a caged rat. I closed the gate, here's a picture of the gate. I closed the gate and locked it. Immediately, she came running outside. Instead of coming to my door and saying, I'm ready to move my car now. She bagged up and rammed the gate and ran it down. I called her mother and said, Annie, I called the police. They came within 30 minutes. I said, Annie Mae, Adrian ran your gate down because I locked her in because she would not move her car so I can go to work. And they came out. Here's a police report and made an incident.
Can I see it, please?
This is the police report. It's the letter. The police report. It's the letter from my
All right,
father.
that's May 29th. Let me look at the police report.
Okay.
Her mother signed this report.
That's correct.
Okay, so your mother signed this report against you.
Yeah, because she said they said I couldn't make the report. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
So after that, on June 6th, I was coming home from work, 7:30 in the morning, hear a car pull up, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Adrian. I have to leave out here in an hour to go to my exercise class. So I hollered out the window, you better move your MF car. And she ain't moving nothing, you know. So she went on the house, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Because I'm not going to miss my, I lost 60 pounds, I'm exercising, I'm not going to miss my class. So I decided the best way to move her car was to bag it out. And I bagged her car out into the street where it turned into the curb. She got upset, came out of the house. Oh, you know, you done did it now, you B.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You are lying to me because any sensible person.
But you don't know me to say that.
Whoa, I know you.
No.
I know exactly who you are. Get your hand off your hip. There's only one attitude here. That's mine.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lynette Johnson says her cousin, Adrian Ishmael, damaged her car and her driveway gate. Adrian says Lynette pushed her car into the middle of the street.
So you pushed her car out?
I did.
With your car?
With my car. And so she got upset. I saw her, she jumped in her car, got her key, she came around, and I saw her coming, so I quickly closed the gate, I locked it, and she rammed the gate into my car. And that's where I have the damages right here.
Can I see it?
And her landlord kept telling her, you don't have any business there. The police come out, here's the police report. You have no business being there. You can't explain why you're there.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
Okay, first of all, that's a total lie.
Let's start with 2 days that I'm interested in.
Okay.
The first one is May 29th, when your mother signed a police complaint against you.
I agree. I admitted to the vandalism. I did do that.
Okay. Why did you park your car behind her car, fully knowing that you were really rendering her unable to move because your car was there?
Because that's not the truth. First of all, can I explain my story? I usually do park in the front of my house.
Oh, no.
I was getting my house painted. The painters messed up my front door. I couldn't gain access to my house through the front anymore. So I had to go through the back door to gain access to the house. That's the only reason I was parking in the driveway.
Just a second. Let me understand this, Miss Ishmael. Because the painters were working on your house and you had to use the back door, you couldn't park in the front and walk to the back? You had to drive. I'm speaking. You had to drive your car there? How far is it from the front door to the back door?
But that day was right before a holiday, and I had bought a lot of groceries. I mean, a whole lot, because I was having a barbecue the next day. And the only thing I was parking in the driveway for was to unload the groceries into the house. And that was the day I rammed the gate. And Lynette is not being...
Just a second. Now let's get to June 6th. Okay. There was no holiday, no barbecue.
Right.
So what were you doing parking behind her car again?
Just unloading groceries.
You already had a major problem a week before. What were you parking there for?
Because, like I said before, I did not have a copy of any agreement. You said you don't believe me, but I have no reason to lie. I had no account of that. That agreement was not between me
Miss
and...
Ishmael, let me explain something to you, madam. Your mother signed a complaint against you.
No, she did not. She did not. That was
No. You listen to me.
Okay.
Your mother signed a complaint of vandalism on the 29th of May. And what you're asking me to believe is you had no communication with your mother.
Correct. Correct. That's the truth.
Me. Listen to me. I don't believe you. You are lying to me because any sensible person...
But you don't know me to say that.
Whoa, I know you.
No.
I know exactly who you are. You are somebody who is a passive-aggressive person.
That's not true. That's not true. You don't know me to say that.
Fortunately, madam, I went to college. I went to law school. I passed the bar. I was appointed a judge 3 times.
That's great.
So I'm the only one that gets to make the decisions. When you're sitting here, you can make the decision. So I decided
Correct.
that when common sense suggests to me that somebody is lying, I'm willing to go with common sense. And common sense indicates to me that when you're living in a house and you know that only one car can gain egress or ingress from one space, and you choose time after time after time to block this lady's car in, that you have a passive-aggressive personality.
But
And
I
if you
wasn't
are,
blocking.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
And if you are living at a premises that's owned by your mother, who happens to have your last name, and your mother is privy to an agreement between this lady and other tenants, that unless you and your mother, you're living on Saturn and your mother is living on Pluto, then your mother said to you, don't park in the driveway. Not to unload groceries, not to unload your kids, not to unload your
say that.
temper, not to unload your temper.
She didn't say
I
that.
don't believe you. Can I see
Well,
the
that's
estimates
your
now?
That's why I'm saying you're not giving me a right to prove my case. That's not fair. This is not fair. Because-
Life, madam, I
Judge
want you
Judy.
to understand something. Life sometimes is not fair. Go ahead.
She parked my car in the middle of the street and endangering the lives
You're
of other people.
absolutely right. She had no right to push your car into the street. Now I want you to show me what damage was caused to your car as a result of being pushed into the streets and the estimates for its repair.
There was no damage because
Right.
I got my car out the middle of the street.
Right. There was no damage.
I'm not claiming damage. All I'm saying is that what she's accusing me of is not true because you have not given me a chance to state my case. You have not given me the equal time to...
Listen to me, madam. My time is more valuable than your baloney. What you did time after time was to block this lady's car in, and I can imagine the frustration. Everybody who drives a car who's been in a situation where they've parked a car and somebody blocks them in and says, I'm just going in for a pack of cigarettes. I'm just going in to pick up a quart of milk. I'll be out. And they say, come on, could you move your car? Get your hand off your hip. There's only one attitude here. That's mine.
I don't have an attitude, so I'm saying that because my back is hurting, ma'am.
Well, that's
why
too
I'm
bad.
doing
Try
that.
to keep your back in check until this case is over.
That's
good.
always I'm
Very
doing
good. And maybe it hurt from carrying all those groceries. Listen to me. Everybody who's driven a car knows what it's like when somebody behaves disrespectfully with no clue as to other people's time. That's you. Maybe if you had some more to do, you would think
That's
about
not
other...
true.
Who do you work for?
I'm a chef at a fish market.
How
I
many
have a
days...
job.
I'm speaking. How many days a week do you work?
I work 6 days a week.
Did you file tax returns this year?
Yes, I did.
How much did you earn on your tax returns that you filed in April?
$14,000.
You know, you're making it up as you're going along.
Okay.
Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $827. That's all. That's to fix your car.
Judge Judy,
That's it.
what about the days when
That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Misery Love Company, and she's very upset that she couldn't pull me into the sandbox.
This didn't just start. Since she was a child, she's been crazy.
She's a jealous, envious person.
You tried living in front of a psycho. Anthony Perkins, watch out. It's a new psycho in town. I'm very happy. Thank you, Judge Judy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Childress versus Reese. Step forward.
26-year-old Ciara Childress is suing her ex-boyfriend, Casey Reese, for kicking her car. Casey claims Ciara punched him in the mouth.
Miss Childress, Mr. Reese and you have a child together, but you are no longer in a relationship. According to your complaint, Mr. Reese vandalized your car by kicking it. Mr. Reese does not deny that he kicked your car, and he said he kicked your car instead of kicking you. Close.
Exactly.
So, when did this incident occur?
It was on May 2nd
Where?
in front of he has 2 other kids. It was in front of his kid's mother's house.
So you went there.
Yes.
Had you told him you were coming?
Yes.
When?
About maybe 15 minutes earlier, I was coming to get a cell phone from him.
And what happened when you got there?
He came outside, and we were arguing. We had been arguing
Why were you arguing?
just different things.
You want to tell me?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what happened. Ciara came over to get the phone.
Why did you have her phone?
Actually, it's my phone, but you know, she does pay the bill.
Just a minute. Why does she pay the bill?
Oh, for her to keep in touch with.
Why do you want to keep in touch with him?
Because of my son, but I don't do that anymore.
Okay. So you're coming to get the phone and you were annoyed.
Right. Because basically...
Keep going.
He doesn't do anything. I was bothered. I was trying to get my child support, different issues that not consistent with getting my child support. He had disrespected me. I think at that time he was speaking with somebody on the phone in front of me, on my phone, and I had hit him. He hit me back.
You mean on this date?
Yes.
On May 2nd, you hit him?
Yes. And he hit me back.
No, I hit your car.
He hit me back.
Well, you had no right to hit him.
You're right.
What did you expect him to do?
I don't
Just
know.
suck it up?
I guess so.
Well, you're wrong.
Apparently.
Apparently. You think you're going to hear from my mouth, you're not supposed to hit a woman? Not from my mouth. You hit him, and he's allowed to defend himself. Okay, Mr. Reese, so she hit you. Where did she hit you?
In the face.
And what did you do?
See, what happened was when she hit me, she raised up the window, so I kicked the car.
We were outside.
I was outside.
We
She
were
was sitting in the
outside.
car.
How'd I hit you in the car? We were outside.
Easily,
I
with the
slapped
window
him.
down.
He punched me in my arm. He ran into the house. He came back out talking about his lip something, came out, kicked in my car
What do
3
you mean
times.
talking about his lip?
His lip, apparently, I hit him in the mouth. Apparently his lip was whatever. I had a bruise on my arm.
I don't care about your arm.
Okay.
I don't care about your arm.
Okay.
I care about your lip. Was your lip bleeding?
Yes.
Because it wasn't a slap, because he must have punched you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
And let me see the damage to your car.
I did not punch him. I slapped him.
Well, you may have slapped him, but you slapped
really
him hard
wanted him
enough
to.
to
We should-
make his lip bloody. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Where were you when he kicked the car?
I was inside my vehicle calling the police.
Why were you calling the police if you assaulted him?
He punched me back. Does that make two wrongs make a right? He punched me back and kicked in my vehicle.
But this makes me feel better. You have no right to put your hands on somebody else. And if by putting your hands on Mr. Reese, his reaction was to kick your car, which is really what you're saying, right?
After he punched me.
And I'm telling you, A, I don't believe he punched you, and B, if he did, you took a picture of your car, not your bruised arm. So evidently this was more important to you than your bruised arm.
Actually, it wasn't, because I went and got a restraining order the next day against him, so it couldn't have been
Well, I want to tell you something. I wouldn't have given you a restraining order.
related.
If I were the judge sitting there, I wouldn't have given you a restraining order. I would have showed you the door. You started it.
Heated.
You started it. You started the problem. First, you wanted to control him by giving him a cell phone so you could keep in touch with him over your son, which is a lot of baloney. And second, you put your hands on him because you went over there, and you went over there annoyed. You went over there looking for a fight. You got a fight, and you ended up with a dented car. Pay for it. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And lost his cool.
All rise. That's case number 130 on the calendar in the matter of Smith versus Grody. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Smith, according to what I've read in your complaint, you and Mr. Grody were dating. You went to a Christmas party with him using your car. He drove home from the Christmas party. There was an accident, and he totaled your car. You were a passenger in the car. You want $5,000 so that you can buy a new car, and Mr. Grody says that it was, in fact, an accident. There was snow and ice on the road, and you should have had better insurance if the car was so valuable. That's your defense, right? Okay. Let's see. This Christmas party was on what date?
December 4th of 2004.
And how far from your home was the Christmas party?
Well, from my home, it was about an hour and a half. From where John lives, it was about 40 minutes.
And I see from your complaint that it was originally your intention to sleep over.
Yes.
And you had hotel reservations.
I do not know if there was hotel reservations. I did call to get a receipt for the hotel reservations. They said that...
You made arrangements to stay over.
I did not. John said that he was going to make all the arrangements.
Okay. And that was because...
It was his Christmas party.
And you were both going to be drinking.
Yes.
So that was a very wise thing, to make arrangements to stay
Okay,
over.
we didn't make arrangements before we got there. Our whole thing was actually that we were going home that night. When we got there was when everybody said, oh, we're all staying here, so do you want to stay? And originally she said she didn't want to stay.
And what
said
about
we
you?
didn't have the money to stay.
Your Honor...
Just a second, he's
Okay.
talking. Go ahead.
So when we were actually, when we were there, and I said, all right, well then, I wanted to stay there. She said we didn't have the money to stay there, so the plan was to drive home after that.
Who didn't have the money?
Both of us. Either of us.
So you didn't have the money either.
Well, I offered to pay. I mean, I had a credit card on me. I could have paid, but then she said she didn't want me to. So the plan was to go home.
Mr. Grody, were you drinking?
Yes, I was.
Was she drinking?
Yeah, she was.
Then you find the money to stay over.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Now, what time did you leave the party?
I had to be around 12:30.
And what time had you arrived at the party?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I believe it was around 8 o'clock.
What kind of alcohol were you consuming that day, Miss Smith?
I had some wine with dinner, and then in the bar area, I was drinking Captain and Diet Coke.
And what were you drinking, Mr. Grody?
Corbel and Diet Coke.
Corbel and Diet Coke. Is that a mix?
It is for me.
What, really? I mean, do you mix those two together, or you drink the Coke as a chaser?
No, I mix them together.
You mix them together?
Nope, I'm a brandy boy, sorry.
I guess it ain't a mimosa. I guess it's a Melissa.
Melissa, that's cute. It's cute. I wouldn't record it anywhere, but it's cute. How many of these bizarre drinks did you have that evening?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. So you know that you were in no position to be driving home.
Before we left, I did stop drinking a while before we actually did leave.
How old are you, sir?
23.
How many hours into the drive home did you have this accident?
About 40 minutes. We were about a mile away from my house.
Is there a police report?
Yes, I have an
I'd like
accident
to see
report.
You're driving on a suspended license?
No.
Did you have a license?
Yes, I did.
It says that you were cited for driving too fast for the conditions, failure to notify police of an accident,
Correct.
and operating after a suspension.
Right. Actually, everything didn't go through. I actually paid the ticket that I had it suspended for before that, but it didn't go through in that township.
What was your license suspended for?
For not paying a ticket or not appearing in court for a speeding ticket.
Did you get a ticket for driving too fast for the conditions?
Yes, I did.
Okay. According to your complaint, Ms. Smith, he was angry that evening when you left.
Yes.
Is that right? Tell me about it.
Well, we were all just, socializing, and I went up to the bar to get a drink. And while I was waiting for my drink, a guy just randomly struck up a conversation with me. We were just chatting while I was waiting, and apparently John here didn't like that, and he came up and he had made a remark to the individual that was talking to me. I couldn't understand what he was saying, but I could definitely, he was aggressive in his body language towards this guy. So I really didn't want to, push the issue. I just stayed where I was, thought that he would just, have like 5 minutes of cool down time, and I would stay there. But then immediately he came back up to me and he just said, "We're leaving now." And
what time was that?
I really believe it was around 12:15.
Okay, and did you leave?
Yes.
And you let him drive?
Well, I didn't. Yes. Physically, I let him drive because I knew I could not physically stop him from driving. He had possession of my keys because I allowed him to drive us to the party. And so he was angry. I was very scared. He's much larger than I am.
Shouldn't have gotten into the car.
I understand. I shouldn't have gotten into the car.
The car's just steel, replaceable.
Understandable. I was clearly not thinking about the best thing. Yes, and also, even if it hadn't been drinking, I believe due to the scare factor, I just didn't want him to, of course, damage my property that I worked very hard. And I know that's a very irrational thought. My body is much more precious than a chunk of metal, like you said.
You're right. So what happened on the way home?
He just kept saying that, why were you talking to this guy? This was my party. You're my girlfriend. Being very possessive, being very jealous.
Okay. And some of the booze talking, too.
Possibly, yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I freaked out and I said, "John, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. It's dark. We're on country roads and you've been drinking." But it was too late. And then the next thing I remember, he was saying, "Get out of the car now. Get out of the car now."
And later today.
Did you believe that the friendship would rekindle into a relationship?
No.
Mr. Marquez, don't insult my intelligence.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Audrey Smith says ex-boyfriend John Grody crashed her VW Jetta while driving drunk. Audrey also says John was irate when he got behind the wheel.
Keep going.
And so he was speeding because he was getting agitated. and I looked at the speedometer, and it was at 80 miles per hour. And I freaked out, and I said, John, you need to slow down, you need to slow down, it's dark, you know, we're on country roads, and you've been drinking. But it was too late. Then next thing I remember was him saying, oh, and then I blacked out momentarily, and then the next thing I remember, he was saying, get out of the car now, get out of the car now. And I was very disoriented, and so he pulled me out through the driver's side door. And
okay. I was going 85 about 10 miles before we actually crashed. I slowed down before we actually went around that curve because I go around that curve every day. I know that it's a bad curve and there's accidents there all the time.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 99 Volkswagen Jetta.
The car was totaled?
Yes.
Did you tell her that you were going to get her another car?
We had a car at work. I'm auto mechanic.
That's not my question.
Yes, I told her that I was going to buy her the car that we had at work and fix it for her, and it was more than equivalent to what she had. She said she didn't want that car. And after that, I'm not obligated, and I did not feel obligated to actually buy her a car. I thought it was just a nice gesture for me to do.
It's not a nice gesture, sir. You caused an accident.
Right.
Your lack of judgment, by virtue of the fact that you had been drinking all night, your lack of judgment and getting behind the wheel and being emotionally agitated with her that evening, which you clearly were. There's no question in my mind that that happened.
Right.
The police indicate that you were driving in excess of the speed limit. Your answer that you provided me says that you had this accident because of the road conditions, because it was icy, going in excess of the speed limits, which the police document.
It says too fast for conditions.
That's absolutely right. Too fast for the conditions. Too fast for the conditions, too fast for the hour of the evening. It was dark. Too fast for the fact that you had been drinking champagne and Coke a whole night. All of those things put together suggest to me that this was not an accident brought about by virtue of the fact that accidents sometimes happen. You were doing the wrong thing. And because you were doing the wrong thing, she doesn't have a car anymore.
Right.
So, take care of that. You have the Blue Book value on your car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
I did give her my car, by the way.
Shouldn't have it anymore, does she?
Yeah.
Yes, I do have, it was signed over to me, but I also have the NADA value of that.
Just a second. Hold it, my dear. You accepted the car from him and you registered it?
Not at first. At first, he gave it to me. He said, you can borrow this car until I buy you the replacement for your totaled vehicle.
Okay.
I said, thank you. I told him, like, well, you know what? I'm going to take the car for now, and then I'm going to sue you for the rest.
Is that what she said to you?
Yep.
What kind of car did you give her?
95 Corsica, Chevy.
Are you telling me that you signed the title over to her?
Correct.
And she said to you, I'm going to take this car, but I'm going to sue you for the rest of the money that I think you owe me, and you said, okay, I'm going to sign over the car anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Why in the world would you do that?
Because otherwise, if I took the car back from her, how would she get anywhere?
What do you care?
I don't want to be a jerk. I understand that she didn't have a car because of me, and I didn't want to be a jerk. I wanted her to be able to get around.
You've been driving this car since April?
I've actually been driving it since the accident happened. And the reason why I needed it transferred over into my name is because I found out that he did not carry insurance on it. And I was driving the car, and I need insurance, and in order to carry insurance, it has to be registered in my name. So that's why I had to do that. Otherwise, again, I would be left with no car.
Okay. Why don't you have her do this? Why don't you have her sign this title back over to him?
Signature to the seller, I guess.
Okay. Can I borrow your pen? Thank you.
Good. Now he's got his car back. Go pick it up.
Okay.
It's yours. And now you'll pay her $5,000 so she can go out and buy a car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's
Thank you, Judge.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I thought it was, I guess, fair.
Of course I'm happy. I won. You know, yay.
I was just upset that she wasn't with the party.
He just kept saying, you know, this is my party, you're my guest, and you should be by my side the entire night.
That's pretty much all it was about.
Really have no, beef with him other than this.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Marquez versus Welfare, step forward, please.
23-year-old Joe Marquez is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old student Jamie Welfare, for selling his washer and dryer. Jamie claims the appliances were a Mother's Day gift from Joe.
How old are you, Mr. Marquez?
I'm 23. I'll be 24 in a couple days.
Before you moved in with Miss Welfare and her 2 children, where were you living?
I was living with my parents.
And when did you move in with Miss Welfare?
I moved in with her in mid-October of 2003.
And how long did you live there?
I lived there until the beginning of April.
And where were you working during that time?
The whole time I was working at Denny's restaurant.
Part-time?
Part-time, yes. I also coached football at the local elementary school.
What was your financial arrangement when you were living with Miss Welfare?
We paid half. I paid $300, she paid $300.
For rent?
For rent, correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
What about the rest of the expenses?
We usually split those down the middle as well.
And what were you doing, Miss Welfare?
I also had 2 jobs. I was working at 2 separate restaurants.
Okay. This is what the complaint is about. The complaint says that while you were living there, you purchased a washer and dryer. When you moved out in April of 2004, you told Miss Welfare that she could keep them for a while because you had no place to take them because you were moving back with your parents. A year later, you finally get your own place. You let her know you want your washer and dryer back, and she says, forget it.
Actually, I did have a place to put them. I have a receipt for my storage space, which I purchased in April 17th of 04 as well, which was actually 5 days after I moved everything out of the apartment.
All right, so you didn't want to put it in your storage space because...
Well, she has 2 children, and we've been to the laundromat together, and it takes quite a long time to do laundry. And since my parents already had a washer and dryer, I had no need for them at that time. And I had just purchased them in March of that year, which had only been about a month. So I figured I might as well get some use out of them by leaving them at her apartment.
That's somewhat correct, but not completely correct.
23-year-old Joe Marquez is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old student Jamie Welfare, for selling his washer and dryer. Jamie claims the appliances were a Mother's Day gift from Joe.
Well, let me hear what your version of the events were.
When he bought those for me, it was an early Mother's Day gift. I was the one doing all the laundry. He never even did his own laundry. I was doing my laundry, his laundry, and both of my children's laundry. And between the 2 jobs and being at the laundromat all the time, it was a lot of time away, and so we had been discussing, him buying a washer and dryer for me, and he was looking online and said, hey, come and pick the one you want. And so I picked the one I want. He gave him to me. When he moved out, I was sleeping when he moved out. Our relationship had gotten kind of rocky. There was never any discussion about me giving them back, ever.
When for the first time did you contact her with regard to retrieving these 2 items?
Your Honor, as she said, I moved out at the very beginning of April of 2004. We didn't talk for 2 weeks afterwards. After that, we, began phone conversations, and actually on May 5th of 2004, she came over to my house, my parents' house, for a little Cinco de Mayo get-together. In May of 2004, I gave Miss Welfare $100 because she was having a rough time making it on her own in the apartment, and I have here a check for utilities / other stuff I gave to Miss Welfare for $100 to help her out.
Can you answer my question?
Sure.
You remember what my question was?
Yes, I do. Have we ever talked about it? About the washer and dryer?
When for the first time did you ask for it back?
I first asked for it back when I found out I was moving out with my current girlfriend, which was in March of 2005.
Okay, so between April of 2004 and March 2005, you had absolutely no discussion with her about this washer and dryer.
That is incorrect. When I gave her that check, which was dated May 20th of 04, we had discussed it. She actually wanted to purchase the washer and dryer fully. She wanted to give me payments per month. And I told her that since we were becoming good friends, I did not want the only conversation to be between us about the washer and dryer.
At that time, Mr. Marquez, did you believe that the friendship would rekindle into a relationship?
No. Actually, when we first broke up,
Mr. Marquez, don't insult my intelligence.
Sorry, Your Honor.
You don't go from being lovers to friends without somebody hoping for a little bit more.
That is correct. Yes.
So during that time, and during the time, according to you, she said, why don't you let me make payments on it? You said, no.
Correct.
And now you have a new girlfriend.
Yes, I do.
You moving into an apartment together?
We have currently moved into an apartment as of the 9th of April.
And I assume it doesn't have a washer and dryer.
Actually, it does. After this little skirmish between me and my ex-girlfriend, my current girlfriend went out and purchased one, hoping it would make me feel a little bit better.
Did it?
I was very, very pleased that she would show that much friendship towards me. But I wasn't very angry about the washer and dryer. I was angry at the fact that she took me for granted that I was being nice and letting her borrow the washer and dryer when I could have just put them in my storage.
Get over it. There is something that doesn't ring true, sir, about your story that you told her more than a year ago, that I'm letting you use this piece of equipment that breaks down, that once it's used, it becomes less functional. I'm going to let you use that for as long as it takes. And it just so happens that the time that you want it back is when you're moving in with a new girlfriend. By the way, whose washer and dryer is the new one that was purchased?
It is hers.
I just want her to hear that.
Yes, I've told her that many times.
Very good. And you know whose this is?
Yes.
Hers. Thank you. That's all. Have a happy life.
Parties A Plus Limousine Services versus Rory. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, folks.
What is your name, sir?
Genaro Araujo.
Slower.
Genaro Araujo.
Spell it.
A-R-A-U-J-O.
Mr. Araujo.
There you go.
Close enough. Are you the owner of A Plus Limousine?
I'm part owner, ma'am.
How long have you been in business?
5 years.
How many limousines do you have?
3.
Do you drive as well?
Yes.
In the 5 years that you've had your business, sir, how many times have you sued clients?
This is first time.
Mr. Rory leased one of your cars for an evening. He wanted to celebrate his
birthday.
A national holiday. What national holiday was it, Mr. Rory?
It was my 35th.
You look older. And who are you celebrating with, sir?
Friends, family.
How many friends and how many family?
About 40 or so.
And how many people did you put in this limousine?
About 20 at a time.
What do you mean 20 at a time?
They picked up from one location, dropped us off, went back, picked up another group.
Were you driving that night?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
Tell me what kind of damage you allege that they caused your vehicle.
They used this fun streamer can, and it was all over the car. Normally, it's not a problem to get off the carpets, the door paneling, and that such things, but on vinyl, it adheres to it and it crusts up and it doesn't come off.
Well, what do you mean normally it's not a problem? I don't understand that, sir.
Off of carpeting and door panels, you just peel it right off. It comes right off like hair. But on the vinyl itself, it actually sticks to it and it crusts up and it doesn't come off. And we needed to get it detailed, and it took about 5 hours of cleaning to finally get most of it off. But it still left stains. I have some pictures to show if you...
Now, you were driving that night.
Yes, I was.
By the way, I read your answer. You don't deny that you bought this stuff and you used it in the car.
Yes.
Could you explain to me, just for my own edification, why would a 35-year-old man do that?
It's fun, and if you had silly string shot at you, it's kind of exciting, I guess, so it made it fun.
I have a couple of my sons visiting me today, you know, and they're about your age. One of them's a couple of years older, but we won't go there. And I cannot imagine them renting a limousine with their friends and using silly string. Mr. Rory, I mean, I can imagine them going from one place to another, I can imagine them having some beers in the back of a car, but I can't imagine them using silly string, this stuff. I mean, my grandchildren use that.
We like to have fun.
If you consider that fun. So where were you shooting it?
Oh, at each other, you know, typically.
Were you making a big mess?
There was a mess when it was over, yes.
Well, who was supposed to clean up that mess?
Well, Gennaro?
Oh, Mr. Rory, no, I'm being serious with you, sir. You commissioned A1 Limousine to take you and friends from one place to another. Where did it say that they provided domestic services for you to clean up after your crap?
Well, we've rented limos
Show me.
Many times.
Show me.
We've never cleaned up after ourselves on any cars we've ever rented. That's why we pay $800 to rent a car.
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes.
Normally, we clean up beer bottles, bottle caps, empty cans, napkins. That kind of stuff is not a problem. We never have the client clean up after himself. That's normal.
Well, that's nice of you, because they're drinking a beer, they leave it in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that your limousine has places for drinks.
Yes.
Because that's what people do in limousines.
Yes.
You know, they have a drink. That's why they hire a limousine sometimes, so that they can get from one place to another drunk, and they're not driving. Well, that's,
Right.
but that's what people do. They want to act like idiots, so they hire somebody else to drive so that they can be safe. That's reasonable. What I don't understand, Mr. Rury, is this stuff and being a real pig and expecting somebody else to clean up after you.
Well, we've rented limos in the past. We've used it in the past. We've never had anybody charge us any cleaning fee, certainly not the amount he's trying to charge, $350 for somebody to clean it. I had asked for pictures of, the stuff that he couldn't get cleaned off several times.
Do you have those?
I actually took pictures before the cleanup.
Well, let me see what it looks like.
These are some pictures before. After that, I did inform Mr. Rury that he was more than welcome to come by before Thursday. This happened on Saturday night, and Thursday we had another service booked already. So I emailed him and told him that he was more than welcome to come by and look at it for himself before it was cleaned, but I really didn't have the time to be running back and forth taking pictures for his benefit.
Is that right, Mr. Rury?
I emailed him requesting pictures after he sent me those pictures of the stuff that didn't get cleaned up. I asked to come see the limo as well.
Do you have a bill for the detailing service?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
I'd like to see it. Who detailed for you?
It's a car wash in San Diego.
Is this a Hummer?
It's a Hummer limousine, yes, ma'am.
H2 limousine.
Yes.
Interior detailed, foreign compound removal, $345.
On Wednesday the 9th, he said that I could come over by Thursday to come take a look at the car.
Yes.
He emailed me again on Wednesday night saying that he'd got the car cleaned, and he booked it again, so I couldn't come see it because it was already clean. So, to me...
I have to take his word for it that it was a mess.
Oh, I'm sure it was a mess, but it was something that just back and dried up. We had the stuff all over our car, inside our house. I mean, it's like paper. It doesn't stain.
Your Honor, the can does say, do not spray on vinyl as it will leave a stain on certain types of vinyl.
My question to you, sir, is you saw them using this.
No, I did not, ma'am.
You didn't?
No, there's a partition between the driver and the cab in the back. And normally what will happen is when I pick someone up and I...
No, don't tell me what normally. So you're telling me you didn't see this disaster until they left the cab?
Until they were exiting the vehicle.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What did you find when you took apart the radio?
There was silly string melted onto the laser.
Oh, that's a mystery. I mean...
You think that I'm smart enough to unravel this mystery?
And later today...
So not only did you sell the car to a minor, you sold it and took advantage of him.
Well, I made a lot of repairs and
I don't care whether you made a lot of repairs or whether you outfitted the car for the Queen of England.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Limo company owner Genaro Araujo says former client Darren Rury ruined the interior of his limo with silly string.
Who is this?
That is the person that installed the new stereo, because also, I'm not sure how, but silly string got inside the stereo. We believe it was either on a CD that they loaded and it damaged the stereo also, so that's part of what we're suing for also. We had to replace it. He's the gentleman, works for Big Boy Car Audio in San Diego, and he's the one that installed this new stereo.
Tell me your name, sir.
David Martinez.
Mr. Martinez, are you related to the plaintiff in any way?
No, I am not.
Have you had business dealings with him before?
Yes, I have.
How many times have you done jobs for the plaintiff?
Just 2 times.
Okay, and the second time had to do with this audio system?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about what you found.
I pulled the deck out, which is the radio. It was...
Why did you bring the car and to check out the radio?
Because the radio part works on it, the AM/FM radio part, but when you try and load a CD, it spits it back out.
Okay, so it wasn't working?
It wasn't working properly, no.
Had it been working prior to Mr. Rury and company occupying the Hummer?
Yes, actually, when they got on, his girlfriend Bambi brought along some CDs, and I showed her how to use it.
Is that right, Bambi?
Yes.
And it worked fine?
It worked fine.
Is that your real name?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, and at the end of the night, when I picked up the final group that was going to be leaving, Bambi and Darren were in the group, and I was holding their CDs for them so they wouldn't get lost. So she asked for them back. When I gave it to her, she went in the back and she told me there was a problem. And I thought she just didn't know how to use it, so I went back to show her again, and that's when I noticed you put it in, it spit it back out, put it in, throw it back out, and it wouldn't play properly.
Got it. Is that right, Bambi?
That's right.
Good. So far, she's a wonderful witness for you. What did you find when you took apart the radio?
There was silly string melted onto the laser, so it wasn't reading.
Darren, how do you think that happened?
Well, that's a mystery. I mean...
Just a second. That's a mystery. You think that I'm smart enough to unravel this mystery?
You probably are, but the CD player was working fine when we got out of the car. We went into a club. We gave him the CD so nobody would use it or anything.
Listen to me. Bambi said it wasn't working.
It was working
prior
to it.
Prior.
And then we got out of the club. We get the CDs back, and they don't
Listen to
load.
me, Darren.
Sure.
I want you to try to put on your thinking cap, Darren. You and Bambi got into the car, and she put in the CDs, and they worked just fine. At the end of the evening, this is the fact, the CD wasn't working. Right, Bambi?
When we got back into the car.
It wasn't working.
We went to put a CD back in there.
At the end of the evening, it wasn't working.
Right.
Mr.
Martinez
says that what he found in the CD changer was...
silly string.
Silly string. Figure that out, Darren.
We didn't have silly string on our CDs.
No, but maybe somebody...
It's convenient excuse, but I don't think so.
Listen to me. Everybody was drinking. Looks to me as if a lot of people were drinking. Maybe somebody thought it would be funny to put silly string in the stereo system. You have something you want me to look at, Darren? You got a lot of...
No, I have a lot of photographs of our mess, but...
of your what?
Of our mess in the car that he had sent us, but...
But
he never showed me any of the silly string that was inside the stereo. So,
I have to believe Mr. Martinez.
Yeah.
Darren, I want you to look at Mr. Martinez. Do you think Mr. Martinez is lying about what he found in the stereo?
I don't know.
Darren.
Probably.
Darren, and you were 3 sheets to the wind, and probably so was Miss Bambi. How much did you charge him for fixing the stereo?
I charged him $45 to remove the stereo and install another one because it couldn't be repaired. We had to replace the laser, and it's going to cost more than what the stereo costed.
So how much was it?
We actually tried to get the same stereo over the internet, but it's a discontinued model, so we ended up buying a different one that cost $168.95 plus the installation fee.
Well, that's all together, that's $603. That's with the detailing and his bill and the bill for the new stereo. So explain to me, sir, why you're suing for $1,158.
Because even after it was cleaned off, it did leave a stain like the can says it would. I have some pictures of that, if you'd like to see them. And
I didn't think you had pictures of that, the stain.
I did.
Oh, let me see.
Actually, there's a few pictures. Some of these might be repeats, but it didn't come off completely. It left residue. And the only way to fix that is to have it upholstered again, and I have an estimate for that also.
Oh. That's a mess that you made, sir. Did you take a look?
No, he wouldn't give me those pictures.
Well, I'm going to give you the picture, sir. Here you go.
And if you actually total up the... Sorry, ma'am.
If you actually total up, it's more than what you're suing for.
Correct.
You see, Darren, look at me, Darren, you're not a bad guy. You know, sometimes I have bad guys, and sometimes I have just guys that are not bad, but just limited. You're not one of the bad guys.
Limo company owner Genaro Araujo says former client Darren Ruri ruined the interior of his limo with silly string.
I'm giving you as a given that you and your guests caused this damage to the vinyl, that you and your guests caused another CD changer to have to be installed, that you and your guests caused the car to have to be detailed after you finished with your night of partying. I want you to accept that as a given. Whose responsibility do you think it is?
Well, I hate to say it's mine, but if I have to.
See, I knew you weren't a bad guy. Got a nice smile. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What is our excuse? You must step out.
He approached me saying that he had my credit card and he was going to charge me $350, so that got my attention.
I was actually amazed at how dirty it actually was. I never expected to see something like that.
People were celebrating and shot the strings, and then from there we went into the bar.
I'm just glad that Judge Judy saw it our way.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Costin, Lutka versus Green. Step forward.
Tina Karsten and her son, 16-year-old Keith Lutker, are suing 22-year-old Adam Green for a refund on a 1988 Honda CRX. Tina says Adam sold the car to her minor son without her permission.
Keith, is that your mom?
Yes, this is.
You wanted a car. You saw a car that Mr. Green was selling?
Yes, ma'am.
And despite the fact that you were told, "No, don't buy the car till we see it," you got the money. Where did you get the money from?
I previously had the money from a car that I was going to buy down in Pacific, Missouri, but the guy was a no-show, so I kept the money in my drawer in case he called me back.
When had you taken the money out?
Around February 20th.
And where did you take the money from? Your savings account?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you went over to Mr. Green. How much money did you ultimately give him for the car?
$2,400.
What kind of car was it, Mr. Green?
It was a 88 Honda CRX.
How long have you had the car?
Probably about 5 years.
Who did you buy it from?
Private owner.
When you bought the car, who did you go with to buy the car?
My parents.
And you went with your parents because?
I was 16 or 17 at the time. I couldn't remember exactly.
And so you had to be with your parents?
Correct.
Right. And do you know why that is, Mr. Green?
Because I was a minor.
Right. And do you know what he is?
A minor.
So when he told you he wanted his money back because his parents hit the roof, that he took his $2,400 and gave it to you, what did you say?
I said I couldn't refund it. I sold him the car as is without a refund.
Don't you understand what you just said to me? You just said to me that you understood that when you bought this car 5 years ago, you were 16 or 17, you had to go with your parents because you were a minor, because you couldn't enter into a contract. He's 16 years old. You have no defense to this case, sir.
Well.
Well is not an answer. How much did you pay for the car 5 years ago?
$5,500.
Well, getting $2,400 is a pretty good return on your money after you used the car for 5 years. What's the book value of the car?
Book value was
very easy to figure out. So what's the book value of the car?
probably around $1,100.
So not only did you sell the car to a minor, you sold it and took advantage of him.
Well, I made a lot of repairs and
I don't care whether you made a
modifications.
lot of repairs or whether you outfitted the car for the Queen of England. If the book value of the car is $1,100 and you found a 16-year-old sucker to buy it for $2,400, you got a lot of nerve.
He made me that offer, ma'am.
You got a lot of nerve, sir. You are a little amoral. It means that while you are aware of the fact that you couldn't enter into a contract, you forced them to bring a lawsuit against you to get their money back. What do you do for a living?
I'm a salesman
For whom?
for a retail electronics store,
Where?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Do you tell people the truth when you're selling them a product?
Yes, I do.
Did you tell him the truth about this car?
I told him every problem that I had with
Did you
it.
tell him that the book value of the car was $1,100?
No, ma'am.
If a customer came into your store and said, I want to buy that television set, and I really like that television set, and I'm going to give you $500 for it, and the television set sells for $250, would you sell it to them for $500?
No, ma'am.
Why not? Because it's dishonest. Dishonest. You would be taking advantage of somebody who wasn't either wrapped too tight or who was a minor, who didn't know their way around. You don't want to grow up to be a dishonest person, do you, Mr. Green?
No, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,400. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 280 on the calendar in the matter of Schoonover versus Hicks Lillard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Schoonover, according to your complaint, 3 dogs that were running loose followed you into your home, attacked you, attacked your home, trashed your house, and injured your dog. Those dogs you claim belong to the defendants.
That's correct.
And you want them to compensate you for all the damage that was done to you, your medical bills, your house, and your veterinary bills. The defendants say they were on vacation. They don't know what happened. Right? You were on vacation?
Yes, ma'am. Well, my niece was attending a beauty pageant in Chicago.
I don't care what you were doing. You were gone.
We were gone.
And your dogs were home?
Yes, ma'am.
And got out?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened, Ms. Schoonover.
Well, there was a storm, and
on what date?
I believe it was August the 3rd. August.
I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know where I was yesterday.
I'm sorry. It was August the 5th.
Go ahead.
Okay, there was a storm. I went outside. At the end of my driveway were electrical wires. So the officials had arrived and they were telling me to stay away from the wires, stay away from the wires. All of a sudden someone yells, "Smoke, fire, call the fire department." So all the people went running up, and our neighbor's house, just not a tenth of a mile on the other side of the road, lightning had struck their attic. And everyone went, and I couldn't go. I couldn't go because there's the pasture fence and there's the electrical wires. So finally the smoke got so bad, I just had to go inside. I went inside, and when the smoke cleared, I came back out. Well, in order for me to see that house, I had to go all the way to the driveway, down to the end of the fence. And I'm standing by the fence, and I look at the wires, and I think, they tell me to stay away. So I turned around, and when I turned around, there were 3 Rottweilers. One on each.
You have 3 Rottweilers?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
One on each side of me, and one in front of me. The 2 on each side were females. The one in front of me, I didn't want to deal with him at all. I looked up this way, there was no one to yell for, and I would not scream that loud with those dogs that close. I thought about the wires, but I would have to turn to get through them, and I wouldn't turn my back on 3 large black dogs. No way. They were up to here. No. So I couldn't stand there pinned against the fence. So I started walking toward my home. I had about 100 yards to go. I just decided I've had enough of these dogs. I've had to drive through them all the way, all through the winter. They would be laying in the road.
These same 3 dogs?
These same 3 dogs with 2 little dogs would be laying in the road. I mean, many times I've had to stop. They wouldn't get out of the way.
So you'd seen these dogs before?
I had seen them before.
Do you know where they lived?
No, ma'am.
How far from your house had you seen them?
2/10 of a mile.
Do you know where the defendants live now?
Yes, I do.
How far from the defendant's home had you seen the dogs?
2/10 of a mile.
You live 2/10 of a mile from where they live?
Actually, I live 4/10 of a mile from where they live.
And you saw the dogs 2/10 of a mile from their house?
Yes, ma'am.
So sort of in the middle?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you lived in the neighborhood?
Lived in the neighborhood maybe 8 years.
How many other families in the neighborhood own 3 Rottweilers?
At least 2.
Name them.
I don't really know their names, but there's a Gaines family that's in the back of the subdivision across the street from us, and also up the street there's a man that owns 2, not 3.
I asked you, how many people in the neighborhood own 3 Rottweilers?
Not any that I know of, ma'am.
Then that's the answer, sir. Don't tell me this one here, this one there. I said, how many own 3? Because your defense is, how do I know they were my dogs that caused all this damage? That's your defense, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's getting thin. Okay, you have set the stage. Now what I want you to do is tell me about the damage the dogs caused.
When I reached about 2 feet from my porch, and I looked up, I saw my little dog, and I was like, oh, no, my dog, oh dear. You know, I thought I could get through the door, but I forgot about the little dog would run out. And as I was thinking that, then all of a sudden this fear started to come over me, and I looked down, and they had surrounded me. I had them all 3 around me.
So what'd you do?
I prayed. That's what I've been taught to do also. I said scripture out loud.
Then what did you do?
Then when I finished the scripture, I emphatically did this, which they broke. And they ran up on the porch. And the porch is too small for me to couldn't get between those dogs and all that.
So what did you do?
So I ran down to the road. At that time, another policeman had pulled up. I summoned the policeman, he summoned another one, they summoned another one. It took 3 policemen with nightsticks, pepper spray, in the dark, trying to get those animals out of my house.
They got in your house?
Yes. They destroyed my bedroom. They used my couch for urinary purposes. It smells terrible.
What happened to your dog?
Oh, when we found him in the house and they finally got the dogs out, we found him in the bathroom, and he had like a tear right here. And he wasn't moving, and he was panting very gently, and so I slipped him up on a pillow like that. So I sat outside. The pepper spray was so strong you couldn't stay in the house. So while I'm sitting on the porch waiting for them to decide how to take me to the vet, I look up, and down the driveway come the Rottweilers. Here they come back again. So I had to grab my little dog, run back in the house, call the sheriff, tell them where they were, do all that. So we got to the vet finally. The policeman took me to the vet.
Dog okay now?
Oh, remarkably.
Okay. I see items of clothing there.
Yes.
What is that?
Well, because of the wires and then the rest of the tree fell and all this, it was like 2 days before I could see my dog. They didn't really think he was going to live. So the first time I got to see him after the surgery, I had to sit on the floor.
Oh, I see. So that's blood stains from your dog?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know what that was. How much in damage was caused in your home by these dogs?
It was over $2,700.
Okay, can I see, please,
Yes,
what photographs you have? Okay, who's going to speak?
I will.
Make it fast.
On the night of the fire that she was talking about, which was August 6th, I have pictures from where the storm had knocked the trees down and caused our gate to open. Our dogs were picked up by the animal control in our yard. The Miss Schoonover's statement had stated that she was outside letting her dog use the restroom, and the power line was blocking the trees or whatnot. But
Could I have your defense, please?
I don't understand how she could pick out our 3 Rottweilers as
I
being
just
the
asked,
dogs.
who is this man? Is he your...
I'm the owner of the dogs, Your Honor.
Listen, I just asked him a simple question. It's clear these dogs travel together. She's seen 3 Rottweilers out loose previously. So it's clear that these 3 dogs were together. You're the only people in the neighborhood that own 3 Rottweilers. Your dogs just happened to be out that evening. Okay, we have a whole lot of serendipity here. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This report indicates that your Rottweilers were found outside by animal control before. Yes or no?
And later today,
Listen out there in television land. If you go away for a weekend and you have teenagers, your house will never be safe. Right, Matthew?
Yes.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Beverly Schoonover says neighbors Christy Hicks and Navery Lillard owe for vet bills and damages to her home. Beverly claims their 3 Rottweilers went on a rampage.
Keep going.
Can I show you the statement from the animal control?
Yes, of course.
I also have the animal control.
Only 2 of my dogs were out and at large. They were picked up in my yard by the animal control people.
Shh. Your dogs had gotten out before.
No, ma'am, that was one occasion when I was out in the yard with him. And
Listen to me, I'm just reading this report that you gave me. They identified your dogs because they had to bring your dogs home before. Put your hand down. That's the report you just gave me.
The purpose of that report was to show you that there were 3 dogs loose in the yard that they bypassed in the street.
Listen to me very
that were German
carefully,
Shepherds.
sir. She was shown the German Shepherd. She said that they were not the dogs that attacked her dog.
Correct. But she also stated that the dogs...
She was shown 3 German Shepherds. If she was going to make a mistake, why wouldn't she make a mistake and say, these are the 3 dogs? There are 3 dogs. She knows a Rottweiler from a German Shepherd. They were with her for a long time. Listen to me carefully. You can't give me a report and say to me the report is only for one purpose, to show you that there were 3 German Shepherds out. They have brought back your dogs who were out unaccompanied before. That's outrageous. Not she. Your dogs.
No, Miss Beverly Schoonover had stated that it was so smoky outside from the fire. The house was right in front of her house that caught on fire. I have the paper, the Daily News Journal that
I want you to listen to my statement.
I'm listening, Your Honor.
Put on your listening ears. I said this report indicates that your Rottweilers were found outside by animal control before. Yes or no?
Not by animal control. They were
police officer. Strike
No, ma'am.
animal control.
There was never a police report even filed on this.
We tried to get a police
These
statement.
people,
There
listen
was
to me.
no
Listen
statement.
to me. The only thing that saddens me is one of these dogs was put down after this evening. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because they didn't pick it up. They said they would be back for it.
It's unfortunate that they have dogs. It's unfortunate that we don't have to have people tested before they have animals. Animals are not supposed to be left outside when you're on vacation, when you're at a beauty pageant, when you're with your daughter, when you're upstairs, downstairs, anywhere else. When you're not home, you have to make adequate provisions for animals to be cared for, not leave them outside. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes there's a storm, sometimes there's a hurricane, sometimes there's a flood. And when 2 idiots can't take care of animals, they shouldn't have them. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There were also 3 other German Shepherds out running around at the same time.
My neighbor has 3 German Shepherds.
She couldn't even see past the smoke and the fire that was across the street to pick out our 3 Rottweilers.
I definitely know the difference because I've had problems with them too.
Maybe she can use her money to get some LASIK surgery so she can see a little better.
This is justice. This isn't extra. I don't need LASIK surgery.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnston versus Valentine. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Matthew Johnston is suing his ex-friend's father, Stan Valentine, for damage to his car. Matthew says Stan's son, 18-year-old Josh, dented the hood when he jumped on it.
It is your complaint that you were at a party where there was drinking going on, and at that party, this young man jumped on the hood of your car, caused about $750 worth of damage on the car, and you want him to pay for it.
That's correct.
Now, young Josh says that everybody was drunk. He's not exactly sure what happened, but his father has an interesting defense. So you're going to tell me when you were at this party.
It was on or about July 14th.
Was it July 14th?
I believe so, it was.
And at whose house was the party?
At this girl named Emma's. Her graduating class was the year before me, and I knew friends that knew her.
Emma has a last name?
I'm not sure what her last name is, ma'am.
How many people were at the party?
Maybe about 20, a little less.
Were you an invited guest?
I think it was kind of like just a get-together of the people who had known those people. So I went with friends. So no, I was not.
It was easier, right?
Yeah.
No, you weren't an invited
guest? No, I
guest?
wasn't invited.
What's the drinking age where you are?
21, ma'am.
How old is Emma?
19.
Were her parents home?
No, they were not.
They gone for the weekend?
Yes, I believe so, they were.
Listen out there in television land. Lock the doors. If you go away for a weekend and you have teenagers, your house will never be safe.
That's true.
Right, Matthew?
Yes.
Matthew Johnston says former friend Josh Valentine jumped on the hood of his car when he was drunk.
Okay. Now, tell me when it was that Josh jumped on the hood of your car.
It was about 11:30 that night. Christopher noticed that a friend of ours, David, he was already past curfew, and he was very intoxicated, and we needed to get him home. So Chris suggested we take him home. So about 15 minutes later, we're outside in the parking lot putting David in. We're all about ready to go.
Putting David in the car?
Yes, David in the car. And then Chris is in the front seat.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
Your car?
Yes. And so I get in the driver's seat. Everyone gets inside the car. And next thing I know, Josh comes out from the left side and jumps on my car. His knee hits the side of the fender on the left side of the car. At that point, I was just furious. I just turned on the car and just left. Went and took David home, went and brought Chris back, stayed at the party for maybe like another hour. Ended up that Andre needed a ride home. His car was parked at Josh's house. Josh as well needed a ride home. Josh was pretty drunk. I didn't really want to take Josh home because he just jumped on my car. Andre said we needed to take him home.
Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Step up. You're Andre?
Yes, ma'am.
You needed a ride home because you had been drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
And he had been drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see him jump on the hood of his car?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened.
Josh actually comes on and puts his hands on the car. It doesn't, I mean, could have been forceful, but it wasn't enough to see that would knock a dent in the car. But yes, he did slam on from the car, told him to stop, and we didn't want him to take Dave home.
Well, you did a lot of double talking there at the very end, but what I gather that you said was, yes, you saw Josh, who had been drinking, put his hands in a forceful manner on Matthew's car.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Do you have a car?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of car do you have?
A 02 black Mustang.
Where did you leave the car?
At Joshua's house, ma'am.
Why?
Because I wasn't going to drive that night.
Because you were drinking.
Yes, ma'am.
Smart. So you're smart enough to know that you don't want to get into a car somebody driving who has been drinking.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you allowed Matthew to drive you home.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
One must assume from the fact that you allowed Matthew to drive you home that you felt as if Matthew was in good enough shape to drive you home.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Valentine, now I'll hear you, sir.
I feel that based on the circumstances, Matthew was in fact drinking quite heavily.
You don't know that. That's not according to your witness. Not according to your witness. Your witness just testified, sir, unequivocally, that he felt sufficiently comfortable with Matthew driving him home, and he would not have gotten into a car with somebody who had been intoxicated, so that he left his car home because he wasn't going to drink and drive, but he allowed Matthew to drive him home because Matthew was sober enough to drive home. So let's get over that. Okay, now you're going to tell me why he's not responsible.
Well, maybe he is to a certain extent. I would say that he has some partial responsibility, possibly, if anything. There are some inconsistencies in Matt's story. First of all, he didn't contact Josh the next day.
I didn't ask about contacting him the next day.
Well, I guess I feel that Matt has responsibility. I feel the people that put on the party had some responsibility.
Why does Matt have responsibility?
Because he was drinking.
What does that have to do with the dent on the car?
Well, I think if you're going to go out and go drinking and driving and partying and you're underage, you probably should not be surprised if there are going to be negative consequences. I think he should have some responsibility.
That's what we're talking about here, Mr. Valentine, responsibility.
Yes.
Where's yours?
We have maybe some partial responsibility.
Which part? Let me hear which part you think you have responsibility for.
Maybe a third of it. That was what I felt was fair and reasonable.
Well, there is a part of me, sir, that says that I think that you have the right, if you wish, to sue the people whose home this party was held at for inadequate supervision.
Okay.
If that's what you think you want to do. But you, caused damage to his car. Can I see an estimate for the car, please? $649.07 to pull out the dent. Is that right?
That is correct.
That's what you owe him.
That seems
You go
a
to
bit
school?
steep.
You go to school?
I do not. I work.
Really? Terrific. What kind of job do you have?
I work at BAE Container Solutions making...
How old are you?
Missiles. I'm 18 right now.
You work full time?
No.
What do you do at the other part of the time?
Not work.
What do you do?
Stay at my house. I don't know.
Is that productive?
No, it's not. I can't have a full-time job yet.
How about going to school?
I choose not to.
Well, do you mow the lawn, clean the house, build a garage? What do you do?
I live in my own apartment with Andre and my other friend Justin.
Who pays the bills?
Me, Andre, and Justin.
With a part-time job?
Yeah, it's really cheap out there.
Great. Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $649.07. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may start on the calendar in the matter of Neville versus Hubel. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Neville, Miss Hubel?
Yes.
Is your former daughter-in-law?
Correct.
She and your son have been divorced for 5 years? How many children do you have?
Just one.
How old is that child?
He's 9.
All right, now, Miss Neville, I have a few questions for you. While Miss Hubel was married to your son, did you get along?
Yeah.
Did she come over to your house for dinner?
Well, actually, they lived with me till he was almost 2.
So she lived with you?
Correct.
Must have gotten along.
Yes, we did.
And when they moved out into their own place, did they still come back with your grandson?
Correct. I babysat him when they worked, whenever they went out.
But then the marriage went south.
Correct.
And it is your claim that your former daughter-in-law has embarked upon a campaign of harassment, slander, defamation of your character that has gone on for a very long time. You want her to pay for that. Ms. Hubel says quite the contrary. When she was in the midst of a custody battle with your son, you called Child Protective Services on her often. You've harassed her over the years with complaints to Child Protective Services and the police.
Oh, yes.
And as a result of that, she's filed a counterclaim. When did the trouble start with Miss Hubel?
My son was taking my younger son, Dylan, and Jeffrey back to drop him off at his mother's work, the daycare. I was in between my bus routes. I'm a school bus driver. It was pouring down rain. He doesn't drive. So I ran down and gave them a ride up the hill about 1,500 feet to the daycare and dropped him off in front. And my grandson was ecstatic. Grandma dropped him off in the bus. I wasn't on my route. He ran in and I saw him gather all the kids that came to the window and they're all waving at me. And so I smiled and waving at him. She walked over and slapped him and told him to get away from the window. I'm sorry. My older son was there, and they turned from the window. Her and the employees that were friends of hers said, let's call the school district and get her in trouble. I didn't know what was going on at the time. I went back on my route. I get a phone call on my bus. My supervisor goes, Debbie, what's going on? I go, I don't know what happened. She said, some lady called and said you kidnapped her kid on her bus. And I said, no, the only thing I did was pick up my grandson and my son. I was mortified. I was...
So that's when the trouble started. What happened with that incident, Miss Hubel?
Actually, what had happened was, after numerous amount of times of her dropping Jeffrey off on the school bus without permission, I called the school district and spoke to her supervisor, with whom I have a letter stating that I was not harassing in any way, and that she was spoken to and told that he was not allowed to ride that school bus because he was not assigned that.
Okay. Had you, in the past, told your mother-in-law that you didn't want him riding the school bus?
No, we were not to be speaking at that
Why
time.
not?
There was orders.
So that the trouble started before that?
Oh, yes.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I want to know when the trouble started.
The problem started actually before I left Joshua, my ex-husband. Probably it was the first time that he was arrested for assaulting me. My son was 2 at the time. From that point on, there was no kindling of the relationship with me and Debbie.
Okay. How many times had he been arrested for assaulting you?
Twice for assaulting me. The last time he slammed me into a wall and tore my rotator cuff, and I had to have surgery.
Has he been convicted?
He sure has.
Did he serve any jail time?
Yes, he did.
How long?
He was sentenced to 30 days, but he ended up having an ankle bracelet because of whatever kind of medication he was taking. They wouldn't allow in the jail.
What kind of medication does he take?
Marinol.
What is that for?
I don't. All I know is it's THC in a pill. I don't know what it's for.
What kind of ailment does he have?
None that I'm
Do you
aware
know?
of.
Yes.
What?
He has a cancerous esophagus, he has a heart condition, and he has epileptic seizures. So
Okay.
he's on...
You didn't tell me he was convicted of assaulting his former wife.
I need to clear something up.
Uh-huh.
Number one, the lease was in my name. I rented the building because it gave them an opportunity to have their own place.
I'm not interested in that. My question, Miss Neville, is I asked you when the trouble began. And what you said was it started over this bus incident, which would have sounded really petty to me.
Yeah.
For her to file a complaint if she had a problem with you. You would all live together, pick up the phone and say, Debbie, I don't want you dropping Jeffrey off on the bus. But that didn't happen.
Correct.
So the problem started before. And common sense would indicate to me you would have not been happy with your son's arrest for assault and spending any time in jail. And that probably precipitated the bad feeling between the two of you, which predated the school bus incident.
No, it didn't. She misled you on that fact.
No,
So what you're saying is the assault occurred before the school bus incident?
Oh, yes. This was before we were divorced. The first incident was before we were divorced. The second incident was in February of 2003.
And when was the school bus incident?
January 30th, 2003.
What was the second assault about?
He had came into where I worked, All About Kids, to do a visitation with my son. He came to pick up Jeffrey, and he slammed me into the door jamb of a wall and tore my rotator cuff, took off with Jeffrey. The police came. They went and found Josh and Jeffrey.
What was the altercation about?
A coat. A coat.
Now I understand that you don't like each other. Don't like each other, I don't get involved in. You claim lost wages and punitive damages for defamation of character.
Correct.
You have 1 minute.
She called my boss. I have documentation when she called, and they logged it over to my boss. There's no mention that she's my daughter-in-law, that that's my grandson, or my sons that I'm picking up. It says that unknown people and her son. He was on a visitation with him, and his father gave permission for him to ride the bus. So I have permission to give him a ride on my bus.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Because if there is a court order of visitation, the court order of visitation provides that the child is to be picked up and returned at a specific location.
Correct.
Not by you.
Not by me.
But by his father.
And his father was on my bus. Let me explain, okay?
No. I want you to tell me what the lawsuit is about.
Okay. I'm sorry. So, I go back, I talk to my boss. My boss says, get an anti-harassment order because we don't want to deal with this problem. I did. I went before a judge.
All you had to do was stop taking your grandson off the road that you were supposed to be traveling with other children and not drop him off at the daycare.
Well, I hadn't had an opportunity not do that.
But Miss Neville.
I did what
Miss
the officer
Neville.
told me.
No,
and
no,
the
no,
judge.
no. That's, first of all, that's hearsay.
Excuse me.
Listen to me.
Explain this. You're twisting this.
I'm not twisting anything.
You are.
Now listen to
She's
me.
saying there was a DV assault, but they had got reconciled. They got together. They moved out. They left. She got caught cheating, having an affair with a high school kid.
Listen to me carefully. All you had to do.
Well, she
was
doesn't
to
mention that to you.
Just
I mean,
a second.
come on.
I'm
I wanna
talking
get
about you and your lawsuit,
Okay.
which I'm going to lose my temper over in a couple of seconds.
Well, I've had to deal with it for 5 years. How do you?
You don't get 5 years worth, madam. What you're going to tell me is about lost wages.
Correct.
And punitive damages for defamation of character and slander. Get there.
What it had to do with is the whole school year of 2000 and 2004, she continued to make attacks on my person by making claims that my grandson's scared of me. She wrote the school this. She tried to get me removed from my school route by writing the school district.
Show me.
This is the statement, one letter that she wrote.
Okay, so after you stopped bringing him to the daycare, and there was no problem with that, she wrote this to the school.
Correct.
And you claim that this is harassment. I want to know what, this is a legal claim.
Yeah, she claimed she didn't want Jeffrey to speak to me or be near me, that he was scared of me.
Okay. She contacted the school, to whom it may concern. You sent this to the elementary school? And it merely says that she does not want, for whatever reason, which she outlines here, she doesn't want Debbie Neville to contact him while he's at school.
Your Honor, the reason why is because there was an incident with Debbie and my son Jeffrey at the school. I have a letter from his principal in regards to that, as well as a letter from my son's therapist that he's been seeing since kindergarten regarding the incident.
The therapist in September of 2003, and I don't want to go back there, says it's best for him not to have contact with you. Okay. Get to 2005. Okay. I want to hear how you have a lawsuit against Miss Hubel for lost wages and defamation of character.
Okay.
This is not a therapy session,
I know.
Miss Neville.
I know.
This is a lawsuit. So get there.
So several times I had that anti-harassment order, I had to call the police and report incidences with her, and I have copies of a few of those.
Not interested.
And so the following...
I'm not interested. I'm interested in defamation and lost wages. And if you can't get there, I'm going to dismiss your case.
I had to select a different route the following year to prevent her from further tormenting me.
Okay, good. That's not a lawsuit. What else?
I lost wages because of that, because I didn't take that route because she kept calling the school district.
That's the way things go.
Here's a letter from his bus driver.
I'm not interested in a letter from his bus driver. I don't see a lawsuit, Miss Neville.
If you don't let me enter my evidence, how am I supposed to prevent a case?
I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me.
You just read documents that were not notarized, that I don't...
They're from school officials and a therapist.
The school official got fired because of what she did. Wrote that letter. She was not allowed to write that letter.
Listen to me. I'm not interested in anything that happened in 2003. This is not a therapy session. It's a court.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're going to have to move. Otherwise, there's going to be constant
It's not all that easy just to pick up and move.
It's not all that easy. Have the last 4 years been easy?
No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Debbie Neville claims ex-daughter-in-law Sarah Hubel has slandered her at her job. Sarah is countersuing for harassment.
I'm going to hear your counterclaim. 30 seconds. Get there.
Yes, ma'am. Well, as of this year, a couple weeks ago, she just had taken me to court again, trying to get an anti-harassment order for me. It was denied. This was the second order that she had tried to get against me that was denied. I'm continually having to go into court because of her allegations.
Where do you live?
I live in Seattle.
Which she moved right next door to me. Why she had the restraining order, she moved right up the street from me, right on top of my bus route, just so she could watch me come and go.
Where does your former husband live?
He also lives in Seattle.
How far away from you?
Well, actually, they just moved. Maybe about a mile from where I live.
Seattle's a big place. Why don't you move farther away from them?
I don't move farther away from them because my son goes to school there. He has gone to school there since kindergarten. I work right across the street from my son's school. I live right down the road.
Who else
That's
lives
where
with
it's
you
always
now, Miss
been.
Hubel?
Christopher Crippen.
Who is he?
My boyfriend.
Does he work?
Yes.
How long was the custody battle that you had with your former husband?
2.5 years.
Did he want custody?
No.
So he wanted visitation?
Just visitation.
Does he have visitation now?
Not any longer.
When was that terminated?
In March of 2003, right after the assault, I went to the court to get a protection order for my son to ask for supervised visitation. And Josh denied in open court that he wanted to have any visitation with Jeffrey if it had to be...
Supervised?
Supervised.
So are you telling me that he hasn't seen his son since March of 2003?
Correct.
Is he living with you?
He is.
Very sad family case.
Yes, it is.
But one thing you seem to be both accomplishing is you're both accomplishing making this little boy crazy.
Excuse me?
You got to get over it, both of you.
I've never
You don't have a lawsuit. This case is, this is not a lawsuit. This is aggravation.
It is aggravation.
It is aggravation.
It is.
You're causing each other aggravation. You have to stop.
Correct. But she won't stop.
I have the feeling, Miss Neville, and I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that if you had nothing to do with her, nothing to do with her,
you know
your
what?
problems would be over. I can understand why you're angry. I can understand.
Excuse me.
I can understand why you're angry. You have a son who's ill, who, according to you, has cancer. Takes medication.
No, it's not according
who's
to me.
been
I
in
have
jail.
the doctor's reports
I'm speaking.
right here.
You're not
But
following.
You're making statements.
You are over here.
Okay,
you're not getting it.
It's not according to me. Here's some documents.
I agree with you. I accept the fact that he's ill.
And I don't call her job. I don't follow her around. I don't do that.
I have a feeling, Miss Neville, that Miss Hubel would like...
My witness can testify to her following me into the store, staying outside, waiting for me to come out of the store, and chasing me out of the parking lot. I've had her push a grocery cart into my leg.
You shouldn't have anything to do with each other. You shouldn't be near each other.
Honor, I thought it was supposed to be my turn to be giving my statements.
What I'm trying to do is to tell you, neither one of you has a lawsuit. You have created aggravation for each other.
What have I done to her? Excuse me, tell me. Do you have documentations of what have I called your job? Have I gone to your place of work? I avoid your place of work. My friends avoid you. The whole community avoids you because they're scared of you. They're scared if you get done tired being mad at me that they're going to stalk them. I have witnesses would not come because they're scared of her.
Well,
I lost business in my art because of her.
One way or another, if you want to live in peace, you're going to have to relocate.
Yes.
That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to move out of Seattle. And if you don't do it, then you're just prolonging this bad feeling because she has a grown son who has an illness. That makes her feel bad as a mother. She has a grown son who probably says to her that he's sad because he can't see his son. That makes her feel protective. Do you understand? There's a story which is the underpinning of this,
actually, my son
of this lawsuit. You're going to have to move. And the faster you do it, the faster you're going to be able to enjoy your life. Do you get it?
Yes.
Otherwise, there's going to be constant
It's not all
aggravation.
that easy just to pick up and move.
It's not all that easy. Have the last 4 years been easy?
No.
Your son's 9 years old. It's not as if he's a junior in high school that he has to reacquaint with friends when he's a junior and he's going to graduate. He's 9 years old. He'll adjust to a new school. You want peace? Move. Lawsuit's dismissed. Thank you. That's all.
Parties versus Kilpatrick. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Hines, the defendant is your former boyfriend. You
Yes.
lived together. He's also the father of your child.
Yes.
You had a lease together. He moved out 4 months prior to the lease terminating.
Yes.
You took him to court for 2 months of the 4 months.
Yes.
Because the other 2 months hadn't passed yet. And you got a judgment against him for those 2 months.
Yes.
Now you want the last 2 months of the rent that he owes you. And you also claim that you had a lot of pain and suffering because he wasn't a nice guy.
Yes.
Well, forget pain and suffering. You don't get paid for pain and suffering. You terminate a relationship for pain and suffering. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. So you want your rent.
Yes.
Mr. Kilpatrick has a very good excuse for not paying the rent for the last 2 months.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
He says that the reason he didn't pay rent for the last 2 months is because you filed a restraining order against him and his mother, and so he couldn't live in the apartment, and if he couldn't live in the apartment, then he wasn't going to pay rent.
Not
That's
true.
his defense.
Yes.
So, when did you move into the apartment?
We moved in March 14, 2006.
And you were both on the lease?
Yes, we were.
And when did you leave, sir?
I'm not exactly sure.
When did he leave?
November 9th, and they filed for the restraining order. He was
November 9th,
Yes.
2006.
Yes.
And when did you file a restraining order
I
against him?
filed November 2nd, but he was served November 14th at 5:55 a.m.
But you had filed it on November 2nd.
Yes.
I want to see the allegations that you put in the restraining order application. Thank you. You filed this on November the 2nd, and according to this, it says the most recent date of abuse was September 10th, 2006. And you say he strangled me to the point that I could not scream anymore. He also stated that he would only get a slap on the wrists.
If he did it again.
It would be something he would hit me because it was his first offense. And you filed this 2 months later. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Between September 10th and November the 2nd, when you went to the police to file for this restraining order, where were you living?
I was staying there, but he wasn't.
You were in the apartment?
Yes.
And he was not living there?
He was still living there, but he never came home. He was in and out. He would go to his mom's house. We were sleeping in separate bedrooms. I was sleeping in my daughter's room, and he was sleeping in our bedroom.
Fine. So then my question to you is,
Okay.
2 months later, what prompted you to go to the police?
I don't have transportation. Not only was I trying to get to the courthouse to file a restraining order on him, everything in between then, I was going to the police station. I was always talking to the police about what I can do about our child and him getting out of the apartment, but not necessarily him moving out because I still needed him to pay his half of the rent.
Just a second. You asked for, in your restraining order, a stay-away order asking that he may not be within 15 feet from you. How was he supposed to be within 15 feet from you if he was still living in the apartment?
Because at the time, whenever he would come home, he would go in his room, and I'll either be sleeping in the living room on the floor or in our bedroom.
Listen, did you want him out of the apartment or in the apartment?
I wanted him to stay because he was still on
Then
the
there was
lease.
no reason for you to file for a protective order.
I just
It's
didn't want him to
nonsense.
hit me again.
You said that the last time he put his hands on you was when he choked you 2 months before. That's what you swore to in here.
Yes.
So that there had to be a reason, 2 months later, that you went to the police, you managed to find your way to the police.
Yes.
And file this protective order.
I went to the courthouse to file that.
Listen, you're not being honest with me. He moved out, he had a right to move out, he would have been crazy to stay there. Absolutely insane to stay there with a protective order. When all you have to do is pick up the phone, call the police, they come, they arrest him, and all you have to do is say he threatened me, and he finds himself in jail. So he would be insane to stay in the apartment.
May I please say something?
Sure.
It says right here that he was not even served. He didn't even know I had a restraining order on him until after. I'm telling you.
It doesn't make any difference whether he knew or not, madam. You knew.
Yes.
So how dare you come here knowing that you had the restraining order, that you didn't serve on him for another couple of days, but you knew you had it, and still want him to pay rent?
Because his name was still on the lease. I did not ask Devin to leave. They said 15 feet because his name was still on the lease. They could not kick him out. I had no choice. I didn't want him to put his hands on me again, Judge.
Good.
I was afraid. I didn't know what else to do.
I understand. You should have left. Should have left. But you can't go get a restraining order on him and say you have to stay in the house, despite the fact that I have a restraining order on you.
Okay.
So now you are like my prisoner. You look at me cross-eyed, I'm going to call the police. Whether he did anything bad to you in September or not, I don't know. Certainly you didn't go to the police in September. So he would be nuts to stay with you. And now you come to court and you say, I want him to pay the rent.
Yes, because...
When he did nothing to you in November, nothing to you in October, nothing to you 3 weeks in September. If I believe that you got into a fight and he put his hands on you in September, I'm not condoning that.
Okay.
And if you put him out right away, I would have said, okay.
Okay.
And if I believed that he choked you in September, I would have said, you're bad. You have to pay the rent.
Okay.
But when you wait 2 months, there's something else going on.
I tried.
Okay,
I
I'm
did
trying
everything-
to. Believe
No,
me, I'm
Judge,
trying.
I did everything I could to get to the police department. I went throughout the month of October to get information on what I could do because he's the father of my child. I was trying to ask for information about child custody and what I could do about everything.
I'm not talking about child custody.
I know
I'm talking
domestic violence.
I'm talking about a restraining order.
Okay.
Not child custody, not support, not anything else. Just about the fact that you were in abject fear of him and in need of a protective order that excluded him from the house. You cannot live with somebody with a restraining order and expect them to stay in the apartment. Because of the way the laws are recognized now, all you have to do is call the police and say, he looked at me cross-eyed, I want him arrested. And then he's there on a violation of a protective order, which allows them to incarcerate him for up to 6 months by just looking at you cross-eyed.
But those were not my intentions.
Oh, listen, I don't care what your intentions were or not. The fact is you did have a restraining order against him, and he was perfectly right to leave because you didn't go and file that restraining order at the time you allege he hurt you. You waited 2 months. So there was some other agenda that you had, and I don't know what that was because you look at me, like you don't understand what I'm talking about. But then you were served with a restraining order and you came back into the apartment with your mother.
No, not my mother.
When?
Around, I guess, a week later.
After you were served?
Yeah, I came, I got all my stuff, and then that was it.
Not true.
You came and you got some of your stuff, included the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's what she's annoyed at because
I
the
had
refrigerator, she said, was given to both of you as a couple by your mother.
She didn't give it to us both as a couple.
I don't care. Yeah, she did at the time because you were both eating out of the refrigerator, I assume. But he's allowed to keep the refrigerator.
It was not a week later. It was the same day because I had to purchase a refrigerator the very same day. I have the receipt with the date.
But I
and
don't
time
understand
on
what you want, and I don't understand what your pain and suffering is.
Because I almost had a miscarriage. I had to be taken out of school literally on November 29th. My doctor had to write me an excuse because I had to keep on being rushed to the hospital. And I have all the hospital papers stating that I had
You have a hospital paper that says it's his fault that you almost had a miscarriage?
Well, it was stress.
Of course it's stressful. Life is stressful, madam. Life is stressful.
Yes, it is.
Life is stressful. You don't want to be stressed until you're sure about somebody. You shouldn't get pregnant by them.
Actually, those were my intentions either.
Well, it's not your intentions. That what you do is you take care.
But I was on birth control. I have the papers proving that I was on birth control. You would like to see it.
Well, I suggest you sue the birth control company because it failed. Listen to me, Miss Hines. Are you living in the apartment now by yourself?
Yes.
Perfect. Are you working?
No.
Well, how are you supporting yourself?
I had money that was saved up, and I spent all that money on the rent.
How old are you?
I'm 20 and a half.
So why don't you go to your father or your mother's house? You're 20 years old and you have a baby. He should pay child support, but he's not going to support you. You're not his wife.
No,
He said he'll contribute to the support of his child. He absolutely should do that.
But he's
Are you paying
not.
child support?
No, not yet.
Why not?
She just, I don't know, she just filed it, I guess.
She doesn't have to file it. Did you see your baby?
Yeah.
Well,
no.
You have to take care of your baby.
I see him when I can. I work about 6 days a week, so I can't be there all the time.
Well, if you work 6 days a week, then what you should do is you should have enough money to help support him.
But he
And you don't need a court order to tell you that, sir. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I should see the money coming out of your wallet right now.
Please, for some diapers. I would like some diapers.
Listen
for
to
our
me.
son.
Don't talk to him.
Okay, I won't.
I should see money coming out of your wallet now. Did you hear what I said?
I heard you.
Get it out.
Don't have none in my wallet.
How could a man who works 6 days a week not have any money in their wallet?
I don't keep money in my wallet.
Where do you keep it?
In the bank.
Good. How much money do you have in the bank?
Don't know.
Well, I've got news for you, sir. When ultimately you're going to want to see this child, and the tape of this is going to be available for her, for whatever, You get no sympathy from me if a father needs a court order to tell him that he's supposed to pay child support. Court's not supposed to tell you that. In here is supposed to tell you that. Do you understand? So the support should be forthcoming. You don't have to pay anything for rent. Because she wanted to live alone, she filed for a protective order against you. And if that's the case, then she pays the rent. Got it?
Okay.
And if you don't want to pay the rent, go home to your mother. Or get a job and start supporting yourself.
I will.
Good. Perfect. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Why did you excuse you may step out?
I thought that I was going to win because he left me.
I really didn't want to have the baby right away.
He got me pregnant. I didn't get myself pregnant.
When she got pregnant, yeah, there was a lot of anger.
He has another baby on the way.
I really didn't want to have a child.
The girl is about 5 months pregnant, and my son's only 3 months. What is that telling you about him?
Nobody laid you down, pried open your mouth, and poured alcohol down your throat. Nobody told you to fall asleep in the car. Nobody told you any of that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLeod versus Lawler, step forward, please.
Ashley McLeod says former friend Justin Lawler owes for late fees associated with a broken window on her rental car. Ashley says police officers were forced to break into the car after Justin passed out drunk.
Miss McLeod, you and the defendant were friends. It's my understanding that you wanted to take a little day road trip together. You needed a car, so you rented a car on your credit card.
Yes.
And you were going from someplace to San Diego?
Actually, we were going from Austin, Texas to South Padre Island. And Justin had told me that he had to be on the rental car agreement because I couldn't rent the car by myself because I was under 21.
Okay, but the car was leased with your credit card?
Yeah.
Okay, and he was driving?
Yes.
What time did you rent the car?
We had gone that Friday. It was sometime in the afternoon to rent the car. And then we were going to leave for South Padre shortly after we had rented the car.
And you did?
Yep.
Was he drinking?
When the incident occurred, he had been to a few bars. He'd had a few drinks.
Well, that would be a yes.
Yes.
To make a long story short, what happened was he took the car to go from one place to another. I don't know where you were going. But according to you, you pulled the car over and fell asleep, but fell into a dead sleep coma because the police came up to the car and they tried to wake you.
It was actually parked in a parking spot.
They tried to wake you, and they couldn't wake you from this deep coma sleep. They banged on the door, they rapped with their baton, and then they feared for your safety. Since the car was locked, they busted out the window of the car in order to ensure that you were safe. Now, the car had to be taken in to be fixed. You paid for the window, but it took time, and she was charged $500 extra on her credit card that she feels as if you're responsible for, because but for the fact that you fell asleep in the car, it wouldn't have happened. That's your case.
Yes.
Mr. Lawler has an interesting defense that we are all breathlessly waiting to hear.
Well, when we first rented the car, I actually told her to get the rental car insurance because that way, if anything did happen, we would not be liable for the damages done. And at that time, she said that she had insurance. It would be $100 cheaper. The guy rang it up with the insurance on it for the rental car. And then she said, well, no, it'd be cheaper if we do it the other way. I didn't want to because I had rented a car before and know that if you get rental car insurance, it covers everything. So she insisted on putting her current insurance on there. And once we got down there, her mom, she talked to her, told her the insurance was on there. And then her mom said if anything happened to that car, that their insurance would get dropped. So the insurance didn't cover the actual damages done at all.
Can I say something? What?
No!
Oh, sorry.
I'm not finished with him yet.
Sorry.
So let me understand his defense. His defense is she should have taken out the insurance.
Right.
That's your defense?
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds right to you?
Well, that sounds like what he said.
That sounds right, yeah. Why did you fall asleep in the car, Mr. Lawler?
Why did I fall asleep in the car?
Just a second. Is there an echo in here? I know that you think that it's going to give you an opportunity to think of a reason.
He wasn't sleeping. Sorry.
I'll get back to you. Why did you fall asleep in the car?
I had a couple drinks and I passed out in the car, and it was parked in a parking spot.
There you go.
I was not driving the car, though, that night.
All right, Mr. Lawler, let's dissect what you just said to me.
Okay.
You think that because you talk fast, then I'm not going to be able to dissect what you said to me? Okay. So you had a few drinks and you passed out in the car.
I pulled the car over. I didn't drink.
That's what you just said. Had a few drinks. Now, where did you do this drinking?
I had a couple hotel rooms.
Not in bars. You were in hotel rooms.
No, I was actually... Sorry.
Who were you in hotel rooms with?
Just different kids we were selling tickets for our Akon party that next day.
How many different hotel rooms had you been in drinking that night?
Just a couple, actually.
Same hotel?
Just different ones.
Different hotels?
Yes.
How did you get there from one to the other?
Drove the first.
I drove.
The first one, yes.
Just a minute. I drove. And how'd you get to the second one?
The second one?
Yes, the
My
second
friend took
one.
me the second one in his
The
car.
second one. Your friend took you in his car, and you left your car where?
There's a condo that was parked at.
You didn't tell me you were in a condo, sir. You said you were in hotel
Well,
rooms.
that's what South Potter has, condos and hotels. We just go to different ones.
You told me you were in a hotel room. Do you see where we're going, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Cameras pick up everything. So do my eyes. I have very, very bad vision when I have to read something without my glasses. Far away, I can tell a smirk and an I gotcha from a mile away. What do you do for a living?
I'm a promoter for a production company.
They're usually pretty glib and pretty light on their feet. Promoters. I've been promoting myself for 3 times as long as you're alive. You owe her for the car. And you're going to pay her for the car because it was your fault.
Even though the insurance...
Your fault! Nobody laid you down, pried open your mouth, and poured alcohol down your throat. Nobody told you to fall asleep in the car. Nobody told you not to tell your friend, would you please take me back to one of these condos where I'm supposed to be staying tonight? Nobody told you any of that. You were drunk. You drove a car drunk. You passed out in the car. Your fault. You pay for it. How much did it cost you, sweetheart?
The remaining charges that he owes me for is $541.63.
Did you pay for your half of the rental?
Yes.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $541.63. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may pause it. Ms. Sworn in judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Colmenero, you and the defendant used to be married.
Yes.
And you have children together. And it is your claim that your former husband made false claims that you had and continue to abuse the children that you have together. And as a result of one of those claims, you were arrested. You want to be compensated to the tune of $5,000. And Mr. Maddox says that you have a history of child abuse, excessive corporal punishment of the children. He believes that you are still using corporal punishment on the children. And he has every right, and not only the right, but the responsibility as their parent to notify protective services and or the police that his children are at risk. Right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. How long were you married?
5 years.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
Hayden is 7 and Trevor is 5.
You have other children?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
I have a 13-year-old.
Whose name is?
Is Cody. And a 9-year-old who is Jared.
Those children also live with you?
I do have my son, my 9-year-old lives with me.
Where is Cody?
Cody moved in with his father about 2-3 months ago.
Were any of those 2 children the subjects of child protective proceedings or complaints?
The accusations have been made for all 4 children.
By whom?
By Michael Maddox.
By anyone else?
By my husband. His ex-wife has also made claims.
Well, does your husband have children?
Yes, he does.
How many children does he have?
He has 3 children.
Were there allegations of corporal punishment made by his former wife with regard to his 3 children?
Yes, there has been.
And what were the nature of the complaints that were made by his former wife?
Molestation, different things of that nature.
I'm talking about excessive corporal punishment or corporal punishment. You know what that means?
Okay.
Corporal punishment?
No,
that means hitting excessively or using an instrument to hit.
For Cody, Jared, Hayden, and Trevor, there has been accusations made on all of the children.
To excessive corporal punishment?
Yes.
By Mr. Maddox?
Yes.
And by your husband's former wife?
Yes.
Okay, now we're getting there. When was the allegation made with regard to Trevor and Hayden that caused you to become arrested? Tell me about that incident.
That happened on February 12th.
Okay.
And the children had went to go visit their father that weekend, and later on that night, I had been arrested for abusing my son, my 4-year-old. At the time, he was 4.
Okay, Mr. Maddox, the children were with you for a scheduled weekend visitation?
Yes, they was.
And tell me what happened.
What happened was she used to drop the children off at my sister's house. So when she dropped him off, I came over and I proceeded to pick my children up. I took my sons to my house and I started to change their clothes. I noticed the bruises. Right then I called.
Noticed the bruises where?
On the buttocks. There was 3 places on the buttocks that they had bruises. This has happened.
What did the bruises look like?
They were small bruises, about a 1/4 inch wide, probably maybe an inch or so long, around their butt. So
on both children?
Just one.
Which child?
The youngest one, Trevor.
Did you ask Trevor and or Hayden how that happened?
Yes, I did. They told me their mom spanked them with a paddle.
So who did you call?
I called the police department.
You indicate, Mr. Maddox, that your judgment of divorce, you indicate in your answer, that your judgment of divorce has an unusual paragraph in it with regard to corporal punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that with you?
I sure do.
I'd like to see it, please.
This wasn't the first time that this has happened.
No, let me see it. Now, then I'll ask you questions. Okay? Well, there is a paragraph in your judgment of divorce that provides that neither party shall allow the use of corporal punishment upon the children. Was that a negotiated term of the separation agreement?
Well, what happened is I had to remodify it because it started happening before this case, and so I had it put in.
Had there been a history of that before, Mr. Maddox?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
What kind of a history, sir?
One time, right when she started dating Rick, she was living in a different county, and I picked him up, and he had bruises up and down his rear end.
Who?
Trevor had bruises that she was living with him at the time. And so I took him to the county that I was in, the police department. They took pictures. Well, they proceeded to try to find her, but she had came back into Stanislaus County, a different county, and they couldn't go over into that county. So I proceeded to have that, the CPS from the Merced County was checking it out, and so when she moved back into Stanislaus, the case kind of got dropped.
After you called the police, what happened on the 12th of February of 2003?
The officer took the report. He called another officer out, a female officer that takes the pictures, and she proceeded to take pictures. Then he told me that...
Don't tell me what he told you. Oh. Just tell me, did either of the officers that respond speak to either Trevor or Hayden?
They did. They spoke to both the children.
And subsequent to that, they came to your home and arrested you?
That's correct.
Is that right?
That is correct.
When they arrested you, did they take anything from the house?
Yes, they did.
What did they take?
They asked me if I had a paddle, and I said I had a cutting board, which was confiscated. That is what I brought here today. It's my cutting board. You can see that I do use it as a cutting board.
Okay.
It hung in my kitchen. It's in my kitchen today. I did get it back because all allegations were dropped.
When?
That was dropped on March 27th. I have that court.
I'd like to see the court papers, please.
And the DA's information is on the back, which was also
I'd like to
dropped.
Read it.
It's on the back there.
Is this the only write-up? Does anybody have a police report, please?
I have a police report.
I'd like to see the police report. All this says is that the case was dismissed on the DA's motion for insufficient evidence.
Your Honor, I asked.
Okay. Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This has been dropped. This was stated after the fact.
What after the fact? What are you talking about? You have to be told not to hit children with instruments?
And later today.
He didn't pay.
No.
And he did go to the wedding?
Yes. He walked her down the aisle, did everything the father does, except for pay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Colmanero says her ex-husband, Michael Maddox, had her falsely arrested for child abuse. Michael says Carrie spanked their 4-year-old son so hard, it left marks.
Is it true that you hit your children with a wooden paddle?
No, it is not true.
Then you're telling me that the police officer who filed this report is a liar. Is that what you're telling me? Did you know the police officer who responded to the scene on the 12th to arrest you? Had you ever seen him before?
I never previously seen him.
So there would be no reason for him to hold or harbor a grudge against you in any way. Is that right?
No.
Is that right? Is that right?
That is correct.
And there would be no reason for you to believe that he would hold or harbor a grudge against your husband in any way?
No.
Is that correct? So you believe that when he filed a police report, he filed a police report that accurately reflected both what he observed and what was said by both you and your husband. That would be a fair statement, would it not?
Yes.
Good. So I'm going to read to you from the police report.
Okay.
Okay? Let's start out with something simple. He responded on the 12th of February, 2003, to the defendant's home. I will paraphrase that part of his report because it is not really germane to what I'm going to tell you. When he got to the defendant's home as a result of the defendant's telephone call, he examined your sons, and he found bruises and marks on Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
He then asked both boys, little boys, how that happened, and both boys said to the police officer that Mommy spanked me, and that's all they would say. They said nothing else. There were no marks viewed on Hayden, only on Trevor. But based upon those marks and the statement, they came to your residence. Now, fast forward. Police officer, I asked Carrie, that's your name, isn't it?
Yes.
If she had spanked either of her boys earlier that day. She advised that she had, with a wooden paddle, which was still located in the kitchen. At that point, I placed Carrie into custody for violating Penal Code Section 273, cruelty to a child. I then escorted Carrie out of the residence and secured her in the rear of the vehicle. As I was furthering my investigation, Deputy Jeff and stayed with Carrie as I went back into the residence to interview Colmenero. That's you. I asked if he knew the whereabouts of the wooden paddle. He advised that it was in the kitchen. I followed Colmenero into the kitchen and watched as he retrieved an approximately 12-inch by 13-inch brown wooden paddle from the counter. I asked Colmenero what the paddle was used for. He advised that Carrie uses it to discipline both boys when they get out of line. At approximately 3:30, both boys, he said, were getting out of control and tearing up the house. So he's very specific. He watched as Carrie yelled at both boys and grabbed the wooden paddle and then proceeded to spank the victim approximately 2 times and Hayden 2 times for disobeying her. At that point, he didn't see any other physical injuries on either of the children. He also advised, that's him, that the last time Carrie had spanked the boys was 2 days before, on the 10th, at 7 p.m. for the same circumstances. Then the police officer interviewed your 2 older sons, who confirmed all of that. Both boys, your 2 older sons, say that that's your modus operandi. When they get out of line, you take a wooden paddle and you hit them. So my question to you is, first, stand up here. What are you complaining about? What's your lawsuit about?
My lawsuit is due to being arrested, and this has been dropped.
So? Could be dropped. You did it!
There was nothing stated in our court custody that this was stated after the fact.
What after the fact? What are you talking about? What's after the fact? That you should not hit children with instruments? Is that what you're telling me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Colmenero says her ex-husband, Michael Maddox, had her falsely arrested for child abuse. Michael says Carrie spanked their 4-year-old son so hard, it left marks.
You have to be told not to hit children with instruments?
I am saying that this incident is not... I have the DA's information here, and they have overlooked the children. If you would take a look at this also.
Listen to me, madam. Your husband said that you hit the children with a paddle, correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say that that's her standard operating procedure for dealing with the children, correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And that the children had marks as a result of that, at least one of the children, correct?
Correct.
You weren't falsely arrested. The case was ironically, erroneously, stupidly dismissed. For what reason, I don't know. Maybe he had a DA who's got his head up his behind. We do not hit children with instruments. You got it? Goodbye. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I think the judge knew what she was talking about. And, I was just hoping that the district attorney in my area would go ahead and pick it up.
I am not a cruel mother, nor have I ever been, and Michael Maddox is very aware of that.
I just think that they can see right through it with all my documentation that, you know, she was just after money from me.
I only pray that he stops doing this, lets my husband and I go on and live our lives and parent our children.
They just, you know, quit doing that to my kids. We won't have a problem.
Obviously, if we were mean, they'd be dead by now, or at least, you know, out of our hands. And that's not the truth.
I would like to get custody of the kids, you know, so they live with me and in a stable home.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lewis versus Robbins. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Debbie Lewis is suing her ex-husband, assembly line worker James Robbins, for half the cost of their daughter's wedding. Debbie says he reneged on his promise to pay.
Ms. Lewis, the defendant is your former husband, and according to the complaint that I read, he agreed to pay for half of your daughter's wedding. Which one of these two lovelies is getting married? What's your name?
Angie.
How old are you, Angie?
23.
When are you getting married?
I already got married. I got married in September.
And he agreed to pay for half the wedding, and it was a very reasonably priced wedding. Half the cost of the wedding was $865. And he didn't pay.
No.
And you want him to pay?
Yes.
And he did go to the wedding?
Yes. He walked her down the aisle, did everything the father does.
Okay.
Except for pay.
Okay. Now, Mr. Robbins does not deny the fact that he agreed to pay for half the wedding. Correct, sir?
Correct.
And he does not deny the fact that he went to the wedding. Correct?
Correct.
And who else went with you to the wedding?
My wife, Robin.
So, Mr. Robbins, the ball is in your court, sir. Why didn't you pay for half your daughter's wedding as you promised?
Well, because ever since I've left her in '90, she's been putting her hands in my pockets trying to get money out of me for everything. And the divorce decree that we have does say that she gets to use the kids for taxes reasons. But the state of Utah took custody from her because of verbal and physical abuse. And I got a paper here that says that the divorce decree follows the child. And it cost me $1,600 because she did claim my daughter on taxes where I have the right to. And I also have a letter from her that's showing that the custodial parent gets to claim them on taxes. And if that's the case, I didn't get to claim them for 13 years that we've been divorced.
If you believe that in a certain year, I assume last year, that you had the right to claim a child as a deduction, she claims the child. You claim the child, and the IRS is going to come and look at both of your tax returns and say they will make a decision as to who is going to claim the child as a deduction. The other one will have a penalty. But you don't do a set-off. You promise to pay for half the wedding. Why didn't you pay her between September and April?
Well, I told her that I would pay her when I could, which would...
No, that's not right. What do you mean when you could? How many children do you have?
Well, I have 4 with my wife now.
We have 3 children.
Just a second. You have 4 children now, and how many children do you have that got married last year?
Just 1.
And you said you would pay for half the wedding.
Yes, I did.
Pay for it. It's the right thing to do. And stop making excuses and stop telling me what happened in 1990, that she's had her hand in your pocket.
Well, it just all added up. I mean, everything's added up to
Mr. Robbins, you have altogether 7 children?
Well, I got 4 stepchildren, 3.
Then I'm not talking about your stepchildren. They are not your responsibility.
Well, I married them, so I feel they are.
Well, I'm telling you, by law, they are not your responsibility unless your family is on welfare, are they?
No.
Well, if your family's not on welfare, then those children are not your financial responsibility. They are the financial responsibility of their mother and their father, not you. You have primary responsibility for only 3 biological children. 3. And your first biological child was getting married. She was having a very small wedding. $865 represents your half. And if you didn't have the money to pay the $865, you should have gotten another job. Do I make myself clear, sir?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $865. That's all.
Miller versus Welch. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Miller, it is your claim that the defendant, who was living in your home, along with her mother and her child, filed false charges against you for domestic violence. You want to be compensated with the return of your bail and some additional amount of money to compensate you for what you went through. The defendant says that she filed for a protective order because the ultimate reason was you called her 3-year-old some bad names, right?
Yes.
How did she come to be in your house?
Ma'am, Jessica Welch and I had a relationship. Our relationship started the ending of September, beginning of October. She moved in, ma'am.
Why did she move in?
We had a relationship. I was physically attracted to her. We talked a lot, had a lot of things in common, ma'am. My wife moved out.
When did your wife move out?
About the end of September.
Okay, so your wife moved out in September. You began a relationship with the defendant, and when did she move in?
Beginning of October, ma'am.
Don't like to be alone?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Miller?
No, ma'am.
Are you living alone now?
No, ma'am. I'm back with my wife, and we're working things through.
Good. You still didn't tell me why she moved in.
She was living with her stepfather, ma'am, and I guess her stepfather was doing a lot of yelling. It was a bad environment for her son, CJ.
So that's why you allowed her to move into your house, plus the fact that you liked her.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right so far, Miss Welch?
Yes.
You had been living previously with your mother?
My mother and stepfather, yes.
And they weren't getting along?
No.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
Did you work then?
Yes.
What kind of work did you do?
I'm a clerk at a convenience store.
Full-time, part-time?
Full-time.
And your mother?
She works for a big satellite company.
Tell me about why you filed for a protective order against him.
There was an argument that Chris and I had.
When?
Right before Thanksgiving. It's the end of November.
Okay.
He had been drinking. He had argued with his wife on the telephone. He was promising to take her out for their anniversary. And being as they were separated, I didn't agree with that. We had gotten into an argument about it. As I turned to walk away, he came after me. He ran after me and grabbed me and knocked me down to the floor.
Shh. Mr. Miller, I know you want to respond. You're going to have an opportunity to do that. Came from behind you.
He grabbed me from behind and knocked me down to the floor. I ended up went into the bathroom to cry because...
Well, what happened after he knocked you down to the floor?
After he knocked me down to the floor, he went back into the kitchen because my mother got into the middle of it. My mother watched and she separated us.
Were you arguing with each other?
Yes, we were.
Were you physical with him?
No, I wasn't. I turned and walked away from him.
Did you say anything to him?
No, I was like, I'm done. I just turned and walked away.
Okay. That was in November?
Yes. And then later that evening, we went to bed. I was putting blankets and pillows in between us so that we didn't touch while we were sleeping. And he leaned over and bit me on the left breast.
And where did you sleep that night?
I ended up sleeping on the floor that night.
And the night after?
The night after was back in the bed with him.
Well, what happened the next day?
The next day, he said he didn't remember. He had been drinking a lot. I tried to tell him what happened. He just blew me off and ignored me. He just did not remember.
Well, that's November. Did you stay together in December?
No. Monday after the incident occurred, I got a restraining order. And
you got a restraining order when?
I got a restraining order the end of November.
I'd like to see it, please. Now, one of my questions to you is, you moved into his home.
Yes.
You, in effect, had him kicked out of his own house. Why didn't you and your mother and your kid leave?
At that time, we didn't have any money because we paid off the rest of his deposit when he invited us to move in, and he added our names to the lease.
Mr. Miller, you
Yes,
added her name to the lease?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
That was very stupid.
Yes, it was, ma'am.
What was that Forrest Gump line, Bird? Stupid is as stupid does?
That's the one.
Right. Okay. Now, he wasn't arrested on this domestic violence charge. He was arrested for outstanding warrants that he had when you filed the complaint. What kind of warrants did you have, Mr. Miller?
Misdemeanor, ma'am. They were being intoxicated in public and in public.
You didn't learn not to drink, Mr. Miller?
Yes, ma'am. I go to classes now. Yes.
Should have gone to classes back in November.
I was doing that, actually.
Not successfully?
No, ma'am.
Okay. This case was ultimately dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
Assault case was, yes.
How come, Miss Welch?
But because pretty much he got my boss, my ex-boss and old co-worker to lie for him.
You mean this case was tried?
Wasn't tried after the prosecuting attorney talked to the witnesses he had. She didn't feel that it was necessary to move forward because if we went to jury, we wouldn't have got anywhere because it was an attack on my character.
But this is the case on which you base your complaint. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Because she had you arrested not at the time of this incident before Thanksgiving, but she waited. Isn't that right, Miss Welch? Because when you called the police because he said bad things to your son. You had not gone to the police with regard to this incident where he pushed you and bit you, according to you. You did not go to the police until, according to you, he said some things to your son that you didn't like, and then you decided to go to the police and report the domestic violence. Isn't that what I read?
That's pretty much what you read, because if he's calling my son names...
I just answered my question, my dear. It wasn't until after he called your son a name that you went to the police and complained about this incident that it happened days before. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me about the incident involving your son.
We were sitting there. He'd been drinking the whole day again. My son was playing, and he called him stupid, called him retarded. And I know if he's calling my son names, he's going to hit my son next. He hit me. It ain't going to happen. Nobody's going to touch my son.
Well, he didn't touch him, did he?
No, he didn't. But if he has the audacity to call my son stupid and retarded, this is also the same man that has the audacity to assault a woman. He has the audacity to assault a child, too.
Why didn't you move?
I had nowhere to go. I don't have family in Idaho.
Well, listen to me. You know this man for a couple of months. This man isn't your life. You're there with your mother. Go to a shelter. I mean, why are you staying there? This isn't your husband. You don't have a child together. You don't have a life together. He had a house. You needed a place to stay. Mr. Miller says that you moved a friend into the house. Is that true?
No, I did not.
Did you have a friend come to stay with you for a period of time, Miss Welch?
I had...
Just look at me. Don't look at him. Look at me.
I had a friend stay for a couple of weeks.
And the friend's name?
His name is Tony.
Tony what? And how long do you know Tony?
I'd known him before Chris. I'd known him for about 5 months.
Where did you know him from?
From the same place I met Chris, work.
And why did you invite him to stay at a house?
He had just gotten out of jail. He came... he came and he needed a place to stay, so I let him stay.
Was Mr. Miller in agreement with that?
He said that first night that Tony stayed that, yes, he was in agreement with it.
Yes, Mr. Miller.
Ma'am, she moved Tony in. I was not aware it was her ex-boyfriend.
Look at me. Don't look it up.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry. Apologize. Ma'am, it was her ex-boyfriend. He came on the 12th, on Friday, when this assault supposedly was supposed to happen, ma'am. On the 14th, I came to her and asked, why is he still there? She told me he got a job, he will be moving out. On the 14th, it's when the cops came to arrest me, ma'am. When I was arrested, she got a restraining order as soon as I left the jail. I bailed out, ma'am. I was no longer welcome back in my home.
Where was Tony?
Living there, man, in my bedroom. And I do have a letter saying that...
Don't tell me a letter. I don't do letter.
Okay, ma'am. It's a letter from her to Tony. Sorry.
Oh, a letter from her?
To Tony.
That I'll see. Show this to the defendant, would you? What date did you write that?
It was February of this year.
Where were you living?
I was living in the house where I'm still currently residing, where Mr. Miller moved out of.
So you're still there?
Yes.
Can I have that note back, please? How come you're still there?
My mom and I are trying to save up enough money to find a new place to live. It's kind of hard. We're having a little trouble getting the money up.
So Tony's sort of helping you?
No, Tony's no longer around.
When did he leave?
Tony left, it had to be March this year. He wasn't living in the house. He had his own place, and I was going to move in with him, but I found out he's been hanging out with Mr. Miller, so I decided that was not the best.
You have a 3-year-old child?
Yes.
Why don't you grow up? Why don't you grow up?
I'm working on that.
You're not working hard enough. You keep picking losers, that's your business. If Mr. Miller is honest with himself, and right now he is probably clean and sober, he knows that he's not a winner. Is that a fair statement, Mr. Miller?
Yes, that is a very fair statement, ma'am.
And clearly Tony, who just got released from prison and needed a place to stay, is also not a winner. And you and your mother, who didn't have a place to stay, two adult women with jobs, who couldn't find a safe place to stay for their 3-year-old son and grandson, clearly are not winners. You better grow up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
After 72 hours, it's not toxic.
Well, did your bird die within 72 hours?
It died immediately of him standing the process.
Well, then what I'm telling you, madam, is you should have taken your animals out of the house.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christopher Miller says ex-girlfriend Jessica Welch took out a false restraining order against him. Jessica claims Christopher physically abused her and verbally abused her young son.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, ma'am.
You probably don't remember what happened the night in November when things got a little tacky with Miss Welch. There isn't a question in my mind that she used you. There is also not a question in my mind that the reason you called the police, Miss Welch, is that you wanted him out of the house so that Tony could be there unencumbered. Not that he called your son stupid, but that he had already told you. Tony was going. And Tony didn't go. Tony stayed, according to you, for 2 weeks after he was out of the house. At least 2 weeks. So I think you had an ulterior motive for calling the police on him and having him arrested and having him removed from his house. Mr. Miller, I think that your conduct in getting sloshed and not acting appropriately didn't help things. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
But I don't think that Miss Welch filed for a protective order because she was legitimately afraid of you, which is the only reason that you filed for a protective order. Not for another reason, not because you want an apartment, you want a house, you want him out so that you could bring another boyfriend. And those aren't legitimate reasons for filing for a protective order because you've sworn in your application for a protective order that you are in fear. And you weren't in fear. You were only in fear if the two men stayed in the house with you at the same time. So, Mr. Miller, I think that you behaved probably a little bit badly. But certainly that was not the reason that she called the police. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of bail, $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Her boss, her co-worker, and her ex-boyfriend was on my side, too.
He wins again.
Even the good guys win at times.
I have a good heart and I'm a good person.
Judge Judy's the bomb.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lubbock versus Nunez, step forward, please.
Real estate agent Donna Lubbock is suing business owner Jack Nunez for the cost to replace 3 parrots. Donna says the birds died after Jack sanded her floors.
Miss Lubbock, how old are you?
35.
What do you do for a living?
I sell real estate.
How long have you been a real estate agent?
Almost 4 years.
Do you have any college degrees behind you?
No degrees, but I have 2 years of junior college.
And your husband?
He's a deputy sheriff.
You have ongoing training?
Yes, ma'am.
And you, sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm a tile contractor.
How long have you been doing that?
Since '73.
Okay, now let's get to the case. Miss Lubbock, you had 3 parrots. How long had you had them?
My oldest African gray I had for approximately 15, 16 years.
And what's their life expectancy?
40 to 60 years.
And the other 2?
My severe macaw I had for about 3.5 years, and also for my Timna.
And this is what the lawsuit is about. You hired Mr. Nunez to come in and sand your floors in your house and seal them. And he did that.
Correct.
And your parrots died.
Correct.
So you want him to pay for your parrots, their vet bills, the casket, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
What did you do in preparation to your house to have your floors sanded?
We didn't do anything. We just took the birds outside.
When you sand floors, what comes up?
Generally dust, but he was using a wet sander, so you don't see dust particles flying all over.
So you're telling me there wasn't any dust in your house?
My birds, I had taken them outside.
I'm not asking you about your birds now. I'm just asking you generally.
Oh.
When you sand floors, there's usually
Dust.
dust. You don't have to be a college graduate to figure that out. 35-year-old real estate agent with 2 years of college could figure that out, that you have dust. And when you seal the floors after the sanding, they seal it with?
Chemicals.
And the chemicals usually?
Toxic.
Don't know toxic, but they usually smell.
Yes.
And they do have places where you can board animals while you're doing things in the house, just as if you were going away. Who are you?
I'm Donna's mother, and I was.
Do you
there.
live with them?
No, I don't.
You have your own house?
Yes, I do.
Could have taken your birds to your mother's house. Yes. You chose to keep your birds home. One, I understand from your complaint, died outside. 2 of them, however, died in the house. That's your fault. That's not his fault. If you had a baby, do you have children?
I do, and she was also in the house.
Well,
We were
that is
outside.
something clearly wrong
We
with
were
you.
outside when this happened. We had gone outside, and they opened the windows. My birds were on the patio outside of what we thought was harm's way. He never told us that there'd be a toxic gas. You could not smell the dust. You couldn't see the dust in the air.
Why were you outside?
Because it was a nice day, and we were trying to stay out of their way.
Well, if that's the only reason that you were staying outside, I'm glad your child is well. You have to accept responsibility. This was your fault, not his fault, because if you're having somebody come in and whip up dust, whether you use a wet process or a dry process, it whips up dust. When you seal it, it stinks.
It was already sealed, and we went to the
Now,
manufacturer.
listen.
After 72 hours, it's not toxic.
Well, did your bird die within 72 hours?
It died immediately of him standing the process.
Well, then what I'm telling you, madam, is you should have taken your animals out of the house. That's your responsibility. And if you didn't take them far enough away from the house, that's your responsibility. That's not
It's
Mr.
his responsibility
Nunez's
to tell me the
responsibility.
dangers
Miss
of-
Lovick, it's harder to accept responsibility for the death of your birds than it is to blame it on somebody else. Life starts with accepting responsibility. It's your fault.
I tried to expect responsibility of the death of my birds. I only asked for him to pay the vet bill. There's
Just a
no way.
second, if you accept responsibility...
He agreed to pay my
I'm
vet bill.
speaking. If you accept responsibility for the death of your birds, he doesn't pay anything.
He never once mentioned that there was a toxic chemical or gas that could be released from sanding our floors. The birds were outside. They opened the windows, and that's what exposed the birds to the fumes and the silica.
Miss Lovick, accept responsibility. It's your fault. Goodbye.
In the matter of Kahneman versus Rhodes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Miss Kahneman, Mr. Rhodes was a boyfriend. You have a child together, and it is your claim that he owes you money from a lot of things. From a loan that you made to him some time ago for rent, and then for some car deal gone bad. Mr. Rhodes denies owing you any money, so let's go through the timeline.
Okay.
You and Mr. Rhodes were in a relationship in 2005 and 2006, is that correct?
Yes, December of 05 through July of 06, we were boyfriend-girlfriend together.
And you have a daughter together. How old is that child?
We have a son.
Son.
I actually found out that I was pregnant 3 weeks after we broke up and he moved out of my home.
And how old is the child?
6 months.
When was the first amount of money that you claim Mr. Rhodes owes you? When was that debt initiated?
That was initiated in January of 07. I have the paperwork here from both the dealership that did the repairs along with where my credit card was charged.
Well, tell me about the loan.
I was about 6 months pregnant. He was to start a new job and...
Were you living together or not?
No, we were not living together. We had broken up. But he was getting ready to start a new job, could not start the new job without a vehicle, so I agreed to...
So tell me what he said to you and what you said to him.
He asked me if I would help him to get the car repaired so he could have a job to support our family. And
is that what you did?
She actually offered it out.
Well, how did she know about it, Mr. Rhodes? How did she know that you needed someone to finance your car repairs?
Well, because we talk on a daily basis.
Okay. So she was pregnant.
And...
Just a second. She was pregnant at the time?
She was.
Was she working at the time?
She was.
And she was supporting herself at the time?
She was.
You weren't supporting her?
No.
So you called her and said...
Pretty much, my car's broke down.
So?
We discussed it, and she offered to help me out with it.
And?
And it got taken care of and paid for and done.
By whom?
By the dealership. She actually is the one that paid for it.
And?
That's about it.
What do you mean that's about it?
That's about it.
Well, it's your car. You have to pay for it.
Well, I understand.
So why didn't you do it?
Because I was financially unable to.
Why?
Because I was in between jobs.
Why?
Because door-to-door sales isn't easy.
Collect cans.
I've tried that. It didn't work out too well.
You tried collecting cans?
Yeah, it didn't work out too well.
I don't believe it. Don't be a smart mouth with me.
I'm not trying to be, Your Honor.
If you can't make a living as a door-to-door salesman, do something else.
That's what I did.
Good. What did you do?
I moved on to a different career.
What's your career?
I'm in furniture sales.
Commission or salary?
It's both. I'm guaranteed a certain amount per week, but if my commission outweighs that, I get my commission.
Who do you work for?
I work for Ashley.
And how long have you worked for them?
Since September 30th.
Who did you work for before that?
I work for Bright House Cable.
Doing what?
Door-to-door cable sales.
How old are you?
29.
You're too old to be still finding yourself, Mr. Rhodes.
I understand.
Who do you live with?
I live with my girlfriend.
What does she do for a living?
She is a server.
A server?
Mm-hmm.
What does she serve?
She serves food.
You're his friend?
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Yes, ma'am.
Just in the event you wanted to stand up next to him, I just wanted to give you some taste of what would happen to you if I don't get an answer that sounds logical to me. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
May I say something, Judge?
No. How much were the car repairs?
They were $15.24 and 60 cents. Right here I have the
I'd like
credit
to
card.
see them, please.
The statement from...
You got a pregnant girlfriend who's working, who's not taking any money from you during her pregnancy, who's working to support herself, and you call her to ask her for money? Ridiculous. Where is this car that she repaired for you?
It's actually sold.
You sold it for what?
Because she wanted me to sell it for 2 years, and so finally got to a point where I sold it.
And what'd you do with the money?
Pretty much paid off the lien that took a loan out on the car. Then that was pretty much it. Took care of the whole car.
So how do you get to work now?
I purchased a new car. It's not exactly. It's not exactly new though.
Ugh. You must see something that I don't. All right. $1,524.60. What's next?
The rent.
Forget rent. He didn't pay you back the $1,524.60. Then you let him move in with the idea that he was going to pay you rent. You let him stay there 3 months. He didn't pay a penny. I read your claim.
Right, I was pregnant, and for the last month of my pregnancy, he moved in, said he was going to start making payments. He had a job when he moved in. Payments never came through, and I wanted him to be there for my family.
Then deal with it. Deal with the rent. If you act stupid once and lay out $1,500 for him when you're working, supporting yourself and supporting your unborn child, and then you let him move in, and if he doesn't pay you the first month, you kick him out. And if you let him stay the second and third month because you thought maybe it would work out with him, which I don't know why. What do you do
I
for
understand that.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an account executive. I'm in sales. The only reason I let him move back in, I was 6 months pregnant, or 9 months pregnant, actually. That's my last month. And I wanted to be there for the child. It's not the child's fault. So I let him move in so he could have his father, and unfortunately, he didn't pay me back, and that's why I'm here today. I believe no one
I've got the
lives free.
$1,520. Nobody lives free except you let him. What's next?
Next is when he agreed to pay me back. He had a $5,000 check for the sale of the car that I had did the repairs. And
okay, stop there. He sold the car, and the car that he just described to me that he sold and paid off the liens was the car that we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, now tell me the story.
He came to me with a $5,000 cashier's check. We talked about it and discussed it. He did not have a checking account to cash the check because he's on different bad things with his bank account, so he didn't have an account to do that in. So I agreed because I verified with my bank that it was a legitimate check. He signed it over to me. I put it in my account. I took funds out that was agreed upon ahead of time.
Which funds?
Funds from my bank account. I have receipts here totaling $1,200.
No, I understand you took out funds, $1,200, from the $5,000.
Correct.
What did you do with the $1,200?
I gave it to Mr. Rhodes.
For what?
To buy another vehicle and pay off his back taxes.
All I want to know is, you gave him the $1,200.
Correct.
When did you give him the $1,200?
On August the 10th. I have the receipts here to show that it was taken out of my bank account on August the 10th.
And according to what I read, the purchaser reneged on the deal and canceled the check.
Right.
How could they cancel a cashier's check?
I didn't know that was possible either.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why an intelligent, lovely-looking woman like you would choose somebody like him to father a child. You know, if you're picking DNA, at least pick DNA that's reasonable. You know, you'd be better off at a sperm bank.
And later today.
How old are you?
27.
Oh, what? You didn't have children, do you?
No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paula Kahneman claims ex-boyfriend Andrew Rhodes owes for rent, a loan to get his car fixed, and money owed on a botched car sale.
Okay, Mr. Rhodes, what happened?
Okay, put the car on eBay.
Don't go back to the year of the flood, sir.
No.
What happened with the $1,200?
The $1,200 was going to be my money, and she offered to go ahead and pull it out because I found a car that I wanted to buy, and it was an $800 car. She offered to go ahead and put it out there so I could purchase the car, have transportation to get to and from work.
So what happened?
For some reason, the eBay check got canceled for some odd reason. I have no idea why.
I understand that, but she got stuck with $1,200. Why didn't you give her back the $1,200 when you sold the car?
The car was already sold.
What do you mean the car was already sold?
The car was sold.
Am I not following you, sir? You sold the car. Let's say you sold the car on August 1st. She cashed the check for you by putting the money in her bank and giving you $1,200 to buy a new car, figuring that the rest of the money would be hers for whatever expenses and money that you allegedly owed her. She gave you $1,200.
Never once asked for it, though.
Just listen to me. She gave you the $1,200. Then the check bounced. On September 1st, you sold the car to somebody else.
Sold to the same buyer.
And he gave you another check.
No, they sent that directly to the bank that had the lien.
For how much was the lien?
$3,800.
Well, if it was $3,800, you had enough money to pay her back the $1,200.
I also had to purchase this car at the same
time. Who cares?
I never once asked for it. She offered it out. I took it.
Mr. Rhodes, listen to me. Why an intelligent, lovely-looking woman like you would choose somebody like him to father a child?
Looks can be deceiving.
I have absolutely no idea. I know looks could be deceiving. You know, if you're picking DNA, at least pick DNA that's reasonable. You know, you want a baby, that's a nice thing. You know, you'd be better off at a sperm bank. You owe her $2,724. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's a little bit off a rocker, a tad bit, and we just didn't get along.
He's the father of my child, and it's too bad that he's a tax evader and a deadbeat dad and won't take care of his son.
Gonna do the best we can to raise this kid together.
Hopefully he'll become a father and quit being a deadbeat dad.
Won't let me see him, you know, when I want to see him.
He says that because he's not paying child support, and it's the only thing he has against me, and he tries to use that, but it's a complete lie.
She held him away from me for 2 months, and that's the bottom line.
He knows that he could have picked him up at any point in time.
She's been down this road before. I don't think I'm the first one. I don't think I'll be the last.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Champagne versus Walbert. Step forward.
24-year-old Nicole Champagne is suing her ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old David Walbert, for loans to pay rent and to register his car. Nicole also says David owes for his share of a trip to Maryland.
Ms. Champagne, the defendant was your boyfriend.
Yes, for a little while.
Well, long enough for you to have, according to you, loaned him
quite
a whole bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
And according to you, he also owes you for trip expenses that you took with him.
Mm-hmm.
Says he owes you nothing. There was never an agreement to pay you back any money, that it only became an issue after the two of you broke up, and that as far as this trip is concerned, he paid for the plane ticket and any extra expenses you incurred with things that you wanted to do. So, how short a period of time was he your boyfriend?
About 9 months.
From when to when?
January 7th till sometime last month.
And when was this first alleged loan?
The first loan began in about July, early July, for his rent that he was unable to pay again.
Well, tell me about the discussion that you had with him.
Well, he had been fired from a job, so he was very short on cash, and he asked me to loan him about $450, and I agreed foolishly.
Where were you living at the time?
With my mom, at home.
And how often did you spend at Mr. Walbert's apartment?
I was there quite often.
How often?
Every night.
Mm-hmm. So he said to you, listen, the rent's due, I don't have a job, would you pay for the rent this month?
No, it was specifically a loan.
Tell me what he said to you.
He said, will you lend me the money that I need?
Is that right, Mr. Walbert?
No.
Let me hear.
I asked her if she could help me with the rent that month.
And what'd she say?
Of course.
How long had she been living with you?
Since January.
Excuse me, does it count as living with him when... I mean, I didn't technically live with him. I wasn't on the lease. I didn't owe rent.
You don't have to be on the lease.
Okay.
So when she was there in January, you paid the rent?
Mm-hmm.
February?
Yes.
March?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
June?
Yes.
Just July. You said, can you help me out with the rent?
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
That's
What was she doing at the
incorrect.
time?
I'm sorry. I want to interrupt because that's
Good.
incorrect.
That's correct. What kind of work were you doing?
I wait tables.
And she?
Wait tables as well.
What else do you want to be when you grow up?
Going to school, I want to be a teacher.
Teach what?
I want to teach music.
Are you a musician?
I wouldn't call myself a musician, but I play a little bit.
What do you play?
Guitar.
And you want to be a music teacher?
Mm-hmm.
So music teachers usually have to play an instrument?
Well, it helps.
What's next?
I loaned him quite a bit of money for his car. He was not driving legally. He didn't have registration. He had an unpaid registration ticket, and he didn't have car insurance. So in order to not have to drive him to work myself daily, I loaned him the money to pay for all those things, which amounted to was about $1,300.
When?
On July 23rd, I loaned him about $300 to renew his registration. Right before that, I paid his registration ticket July 18th. It's about $700. And also July 23rd, I paid his insurance, which was about $240.
And what did he say to you?
He said that he would pay me back the money and the interest, because I had to put it all on my credit card. I didn't have that kind of money. And he said he would not only pay me back all those things, but also the interest.
What were you doing with all the money you were making as a waitress?
Food, gas. I only work part-time.
You work full-time?
Yes, Your Honor.
What about these expenses for your car?
The car, she told me that she would take care of it because she didn't want to drive me back and forth to work and school. And it was like when I signed up for school, she said that she would take care of the car thing so I could get myself back
when
and
I
forth.
signed you up for school?
No.
Sorry.
Why didn't you take care of it?
I'm not real sure. I mean, I didn't have the money or the time to take care of it.
Were you going to school full-time or part-time?
I'm going full-time now, but I wasn't going to school at that time.
So what were you doing with all your time, sir? What do you mean you didn't have time to take care of it in July?
I didn't have time. I was working all the time.
What were you doing?
Working.
Working where?
Waiting tables.
At which restaurant?
Well, then it was working at Zen Bistro that I got fired from, and then I moved to Riviera.
Are they open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Brunch, lunch, and dinner.
Right. And then you got fired from there for what?
Having a dirty shirt and talking back.
Well, leave that. And then you went to work at what restaurant?
Riviera.
What is that?
It's an Italian restaurant in the Valley.
So they're not open for breakfast, are they?
No.
Just lunch and dinner?
Lunch and dinner.
Okay, so you had all morning
Yes.
to take care of your business.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so there was no reason why you couldn't pay your own car stuff, right? And when did you terminate this love affair?
About 3.5, 4 weeks ago.
Now, when you went on this trip, where did you go?
Maryland.
When you went to Maryland, you went there for a purpose. What was the purpose?
To visit with his family.
How did you get there?
We flew.
Who paid for the tickets?
We each paid for our own tickets. Actually, I don't think he even had the money to pay for his own. I think his brother may have paid for his.
I don't think you paid for your ticket either.
No, I paid for mine. His brother initially bought it for me, but then I paid him back while we were on the trip.
Why did you go back to Maryland to visit with your parents?
It had been a while since I'd been at home, and I wanted to see I hadn't seen my dad since I moved away, and I was missing my mom. Just wanted to be around family for a little bit.
It was for him, but I sponsored the trip.
How did you sponsor the trip?
Through my credit card. He agreed to pay me back for half of the expenses, but we
No
used,
way.
We used
No
my
way
credit.
he didn't, madam. You want to know why no way? Because so far, you covered his rent for $450. You gave him $1,240 to fix his car. You said that he couldn't even afford to pay his own plane tickets, so he took the money from his brother. That's what you just interrupted. When you interrupted and spoke out, that's what you said, right? So that you could have had no legitimate expectation that he was going to pay you back for diddly.
I had his word.
You didn't have to go. I believe you when you say, can you help me out with the rent this month? That you said it just that way because you had been paying the rent since January. Then you were out of a job for a while, ran a little short, so she paid for the rent 1 month. And then I assume you paid again in August. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Pardon me?
What?
I had loaned him money for rent previously, and he had paid that back.
He's not paying you back this time, madam.
But it was
you can't
a
live
loan.
you can't. Oh, stop it. You can't live rent-free all the time. You know, you're cute. He may think you're cute. Truth of the matter is, you're a cute little girl. I don't think you're adorable. You know, he may think you're adorable. But you got to pay your own way. Got to pay your own way. Be a big girl. But you can't take advantage of her. Can I see the payment on your credit card for the cars? Freeway insurance. Is that for you?
Yes.
How do I know this $311, which you took out as a cash payment, was for his expense?
It was a debit. It wasn't cash. It was my debit card was ran at the DMV.
I got it.
Okay.
Now I see it. And then the court's $705, right?
Right.
$1,240. That's your problem, sir. Those are your tickets, right?
Yes.
What kind of tickets did you get?
It was a registration ticket, and I just hadn't paid it, and it just doubled and doubled, so like quadrupled.
How old are you?
27.
Grow up. You don't have children, do you?
No.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,240. Thank you.
Mrs. McDonough.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Who's going to speak for the two of you?
I'll speak first.
It's your claim that you did some work for the defendant who owns a bar in creating a website for him. You are owed $2,000 for the work that you did in creating this website. The defendant's answer is a rather novel one. Let me read the last line just so that you understand what his defense is. Okay. None of the people who work at the club expects to get paid. That's your defense.
Correct.
This isn't run by some charitable organization, this club of yours. Is it a club or a bar? What is it?
It's an event promotion company, and we do, this is referring to the Sunday night club that we do.
Explain the club to me.
It's a drum and bass hip-hop club.
And do you have a room?
2 rooms, sound system, lighting.
And people come there to dance?
Exactly.
Do you serve alcohol?
Yes.
You have a license to serve alcohol?
The bar owns the license.
How much admission do you charge?
$5.
And how long have you had the club?
Nearly 2 years.
Is it running up and running? Does it
Yes.
doing okay?
Yes, does well.
And do you do anything else other than own this club?
Yeah, I do a lot of the work behind it.
Other than the club itself? I'm not talking about Sunday night. I mean,
For a
are you
living?
a carpenter, a plumber, a shoe salesman? Do you do anything else other than the club?
Yeah, I'm a web designer.
You make money from that?
Yes.
You make good money from that?
Fair money.
Good. You filed tax returns last year?
Yes, I did.
How much did you earn on your tax returns?
I don't remember.
Think hard. Everybody, I mean, was it millions?
No, not at all.
Less than 100,000?
Yes.
Then you would remember exactly how much you put down that you earned on your tax returns, sir. So be very careful when you give me your answer.
About 30,000.
And what portion of that was from the club?
None of the club is filed in my tax returns. That's
not?
just for my separate job.
Is this club in Costa Rica?
No.
It's here in the United States of
Yes,
America.
it is.
So what do you mean it's from a separate job? What
My
do you mean?
tax, I don't claim the club earnings or loss in my taxes.
Why not?
We aren't a registered business yet.
Well, you say you've been doing well. You have gigs every Sunday night. You collect $5 a person. The club is doing fine. So somebody's making money. It has to be you who's paying taxes on the money that you earn at the club.
The bar that we contract through pays their taxes. And
You have
then,
a contract with a bar?
Well, we contract that night, the Sunday night.
So you have a contract?
Yes.
Is it a written contract or an oral contract?
Oral contract.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
in there Sundays. We
All
do
right,
our
but
job.
you're not going to get away from your taxes yet. How many people are at the club on any given Sunday night?
It's really hard to say.
Well, think hard. 50, 75. You say the club is doing well. These people have been to the club, have you not?
Mm-hmm.
Approximately how many people are there on any given Sunday?
Probably about a couple hundred people.
Not a couple hundred. We average 100.
I'd say a couple hundred people.
Let's say
Gets
he
busy in
averages
there.
100.
Okay.
No.
Okay? Just a minute. Let's say he
That's
averages
fine.
100. 100 at $5 a person. That would be $500, wouldn't it?
Every day.
$500 every Sunday, and there are usually 4 Sundays in a month.
Correct.
So that would be about $2,000, a little bit more sometimes. There are 3 Sundays in a month, but let's say $2,000 a month. And Mr. McDonald, according to your defense, none of the people who work at the club expects to get paid. So the club makes $24,000 a year.
There are other expenses of people that don't work for us.
Like what?
promotion, for printing flyers. Anything that we out-contract, we do have to pay for. Plane
So who
tickets,
keeps-
flying talent
So
in.
who keeps the books on that?
Me and my partner do.
You and your partner?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Step up, partner. Name.
Carlo.
You have a last name.
Fox.
I didn't ask you your social security number. I just asked you your name. What else do you do other than work in the club, Mr. Fox?
I pretty much work in the club scene. I also help my girlfriend who has a promotional business, and that's aside from the business that me and him have together.
Now, did you file tax returns last year? No, you didn't. Right?
No, I didn't. And that's because the club did not turn a profit, though.
Oh, that's baloney.
And I can explain to you why it is that the club didn't turn a profit.
Well,
What we do-
you had 5 minutes to think about it, and I'm dying to hear the answer, Mr.
Okay,
Fox.
We have
what-
existing past debt.
We have existing past debt, but even that totally aside, we bring in big DJs. We bring in big talented DJs that bring a lot of people. We have to sometimes fly them from other cities. Once to twice a month, we're flying in DJs from other cities, and they could cost anywhere from $300 to $1,500. And so it's like, and yes, on those nights that we have $1,500 DJs, more people will come. We'll have maybe 250, 300 people down there.
Really?
But at the same time, if you do the math on that, 300 people at $5 a head, that's breaking even. And so it's for the most
I
part.
wouldn't run a business where I was just breaking even.
But we love it. It's like something that we care about. The
It's
music.
like a charity.
It's
not charity, but
it's like a creative thing.
Now let's get back to the lawsuit, now that I've tortured them sufficiently. Tell me about the creation of this website that you discussed with them and what the financial arrangement was.
Okay, back in August, while we were at the Sunday night club, Ian approached us with the offer that if we agreed to be in charge of...
I didn't approach them.
I didn't ask you anything yet.
That if we agreed to be in charge of certain duties such as talent management, video recording, hosting interviews, and all this is for the website. Mike here is a graphic designer, so he helped out with a lot of the graphics for the website. And also, I did a lot of the articles for the website, and he also is a resident DJ. And if we were to be responsible solely for these duties for 6 months, that he would give us $2,000. And we haven't been paid.
Did you do what you were supposed to do on the
Yes.
website?
It was more than just a website, too.
Tell me what you did. See,
well,
you can't talk. Good.
What we do is live video of the DJs that they bring in. We put those on the website. In fact, as an added bonus...
So you videotape?
I videotape them, yeah. And I've also has them on my website, whosmoke.com. I've put the stuff that I've recorded, I put it on my website, which is like a nice thing to do because web space costs money. So I do donate a little bit of mine.
Mhm.
But we do interviews.
Donate.
Well, donate as a friendly gesture, exactly. It's
Did
donation.
I say anything to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Me and Julia were dating, so I thought it was friends working together to better the club.
And later today,
Who's Tamara?
I was a made-up person.
So you lied to the police?
I was drunk, so I was just mumbling at words.
Hey, don't try to get over on me. I'm smarter than you'll ever be in your whole life.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy, Julia Chan, and her business partner, Michael Williams, say they designed a website for club promoter Ian McDonald. Julia and Michael claim they've never been paid.
So you had this discussion with him, and he said, let's do the work for 6 months, let's get it up and running, and then I'll give you $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
6 months came and went. You did what you were supposed to do. No money.
Yeah.
Now you can talk.
The reality of the agreement is me and Julia were dating, so we were close. I felt comfortable with her, and I know Mike's work on whosmoke.com. I felt comfortable with him. We sat down as friends to talk about the future of compression. It's not, we did not approach them, this is what we need. Do you want to like have a job? It was, let's sit down, we're friends, let's talk about what we want to do in the future with the club. Let's talk about the website, let's talk about artist management, everything, like they said. And in that conversation, you know, we talked about potential money that can be made, which I said I can see money being made. I can see $2,000 being made for you guys if you put in a good 6 months of work. I didn't think that this was a situation of like they're trying to find a day job and I'm the one who's going to pay their bills. I thought it was friends working together to better the club.
Oh, my goodness gracious me. Mr. McDonald, let me explain something to you. You made an agreement with these people. You said, listen, we're starting up this club. We're trying to get it off the ground. I can't afford to pay you anything right now. But if you do certain things, 6 months from now, the club's going to be up and running. We're going to be making some money. And I can see paying you $2,000 for the work that you do. Your club's up and running. Your club's making money. There's no question in my mind that your club is making money because that's how you two guys are supporting yourself primarily. And with all the money that you're saving by not paying taxes like the rest of us schnooks, you can afford to pay them $2,000. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It never was a job in the first place.
Business-wise, I've been screwed enough to not get screwed anymore, and this was an agreement.
If I could put in my little 2 cents, I'll tell you what changed her mind, and it's that he broke up with her.
I don't know what to say about that, honestly. I think it's completely made up.
I think she was like secretly like in love with him more than she admitted, and I think that she had to take it to this level because she wasn't satisfied with what was going on personally between them.
I don't want it to be a he said, she said thing, but there's no vendetta on my part.
Don't work with friends.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kind versus Cameron. Step forward, please.
19-year-old telemarketer Janae Kine is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old landscaper Wade Cameron, for crashing her car by pulling the emergency brake while she was driving.
Ms. Kime, according to your complaint, you were driving the defendant's car home from some sort of an event because he was intoxicated and couldn't
Correct.
drive. You got into an accident, you caused a great deal of damage to another car, and you were ordered to pay restitution. And you believe that the defendant should pay that restitution because it was his fault because he pulled the emergency brake.
Correct.
Which caused you to skid out of control and hit the other car.
Mm-hmm.
The defendant says he did, in fact, pull the emergency brake, but he pulled it because you were driving erratically. That's your defense.
Yes.
How do you know each other?
We're dating.
How old are you?
19.
And you?
24.
What was the date of the accident?
January 3rd, 2002.
Where were you coming from?
We were coming home from a party that night.
Had you gone together?
Yes.
Just the two of you?
No, there was 3 other people with us in the car.
Were the other 3 people in the back of the car intoxicated?
Yes.
But you were not?
I was not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janae Kime says ex-boyfriend Wade Cameron caused her car to crash when he abruptly pulled the emergency brake.
Okay. Now, tell me about the accident.
I was driving his car home from the party. Everything was all right. We were like 2 houses down from his house, and then all of a sudden he pulls up the emergency brake, and the car that I'm driving slides into this parked car, and the owners of the car were sitting in the car at that time. And so I pulled the car around the block and parked it at his house, and then we all went down to make sure that everything was okay. And I was in shock when this all happened at the time, you know, because it was such like a dramatic experience that I went through, and it brought back memories of...
Don't give me your memories. I'm not interested in your memories.
Okay.
So you went back to see if everybody was okay?
Right, and Wade had told me at the time that he had insurance on his car, so I figured everything was taken care of. I was in shock, so I left. And
you left before the police arrived?
Right. And I called him the next day, and I asked him what was going on. He gave me the number of the officer in Boulder that was handling the case. So I called her and let her know that I was driving the car, and then a couple days after that, I went up there. She wrote me a ticket, and then I went to court after that.
How did you contact the police, sir?
How did I contact the police? They contacted me.
You did. When?
The following day, or that evening.
So what did you tell them that evening?
I told them basically we were coming back from the party, and they were assuming that I was driving, but I wasn't, and because the person that was driving left the scene of the crime, so they were trying to direct it towards me. But I told them what happened, and that she had taken off, and they wanted a description of her and everything, and then that once that I'd gotten contact with her, to have her contact them.
Let me see the police report. Did you first tell the police that somebody else was driving the car, sir?
They were asking who it was, and I was describing who it was, and I didn't exactly say what she'd look like.
Who's Tamara?
I was a made-up person.
So you lied to the police?
Well, I didn't know her name exactly at the time. Like,
you didn't know whose name?
Well, I was drunk, so I was just mumbling out words.
Hey, don't try to get over on me. I'm smarter than you'll ever be in your whole life. Bird, do you have a piece of paper there?
I do.
Good. I want you to give her a piece of paper and give him a piece of paper, and I want each of them to write down, prior to today, when the last time was that each of these people saw each other, spent any time with each other. Do you understand my question? Prior to today.
Okay.
You need a pen? You need an extra pen? I want them to do it independently.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Look over here, sir. Eyes front. Write down the date.
The exact...
Write down the date that each of you remembers that you spent any time together prior to today's date. I'll take them. Thank you.
His, hers, yours.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Now, What did you have to pay restitution for, by the way?
I had to pay restitution for $6,839 for the whole damage to the car that I hit.
Because he didn't have insurance?
Right, and yet he told me he did.
When did he tell you he did?
He told me he did that night before I was going to drive his car, because I was planning on driving them home anyways. And I was like, you have insurance, right? He's like, yes, I
Oh,
do.
sure, you asked him, do you have insurance? Oh, do I
No,
believe that?
I really did.
Do I believe that?
I really
Sure, I do believe that. You said to him, I'll drive your car because you're drunk. By the way, do you have insurance? I want to tell you something. I think that all of you people got together and made up a very good story. That's what I think. It's not going to wash with me. I don't believe he pulled the emergency brake. I believe the car spun out of control. Did you have a driver's license?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good. After this whole thing happened, did he accept full responsibility?
We had had conversations, about this happening, and he promised that he would pay me $200 a month for all the restitution bills, because I have to pay $200 a month for the next 4 years for this car that he wrecked.
How much longer did you date after this incident?
We didn't date at all after this. The only time that we saw each other was just to converse about this, about the case, and about what
Really? Where were you?
It had been maybe at his house a couple times when I'd go up there.
At his house a couple of times?
Yeah, when I would go up there to go try to get the money, because I couldn't get a hold of him because he was avoiding my calls.
Okay. And when was the last time you saw him to ask him for money?
Last time that I saw him was a couple months ago. The last time I asked him for money was a couple weeks ago before I or probably about 3 weeks ago before I went and filed a case in Boulder.
And where were you when you asked him for the money?
I was at my house on the phone the last time.
When was the last time you saw him?
The last time that I saw him was...
At his house, at your house?
At his
for
house?
Coffee, something?
No, I just asked him for money. It was probably about 2 months ago.
And when was the last time you say you saw her?
Last time I saw her was when we went to court for that.
Which was when?
When I don't know the exact date when that court date was, but we had the same court date, so that's the last time I saw her.
Uh-huh. And did you tell the judge in court that that this was all your fault?
Basically, just to get it was already.
I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
Did you tell the judge in court that the accident was all your fault? The answer is yes or no.
Yes.
What did the judge say to you?
76 on the calendar in the matter of Waller versus Arbach. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Mrs. Waller, this is your son. What's your first name?
Doug.
What?
Doug.
Doug. Doug was playing football on the 27th of October of this year, and according to you, during the course of the game, he was assaulted by the defendant, who was the coach on the opposing team.
Yes.
You want the defendant to pay for all of his medical bills and for punitive damages as a result of that assault.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says it was your son who was way out of line and that he did not assault him. He merely tried to negotiate a confrontation that was going on that was really, at least in part, precipitated by your son. Fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you were involved in an altercation. Is that right, Doug?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened.
There was a fumble in the football game, and
Now, I want you to understand something before we go any further. This is what I know about football.
okay.
The only thing I know about football is it interferes with Sundays, and they don't run around bases. So don't get technical with
All
me.
right, a fumble is where the person carrying the ball drops the ball, and that means everybody is scrambling around to get the ball. And so there was a pile, and I was on top of a kid, and he said, "Let me."
You were on top of the pile.
Yeah, well, I was like in the pile on top of another young man, and the kid said, "Let me up, and I'll kick your butt" or something, because
Okay.
yeah. And so when I was getting up, I got pushed from the back, and then me and another kid started fighting.
That's not true.
Just a second. Want to
And-
get to you in a second.
And then
So you pile on this pile, because I've seen that. How many people were under you on the pile?
I think only just the one kid that said, "Let me up."
Now, the kid that was right under you was on top of another kid. Is that right?
I don't think so. I think
Yes, that is true. Your
Just a second.
I think.
Well, if you fumble and somebody's got the ball, I know this much. Somebody's holding on to this ball, you know. Is that right?
That's right.
And then somebody is on top of them because they've gotten them down. Right?
That's right.
Okay. So that sounds more right to me.
Okay.
So you got somebody from your team that's got the ball underneath.
Yeah.
See, I'm picking up this game.
It's from my team.
From
My team
your
took care of the
team.
fumble. Yes, ma'am.
And then somebody from his team was on top.
The guy, our quarterback,
was underneath the bottom of the pile, and 2 or 3 players from his team were in the pile, and he was the last guy on top of the pile.
He was the last guy on top of the pile.
He was the last guy on top of the pile.
Does that sound right to you, Doug?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, just so that I can understand this, you already got a lot of guys on this pile, so the ball's not going anywhere.
Right.
Why do you jump on top of the pile?
It's just, it was going somewhere when I jumped on the pile.
No. There were a lot of people on top of the pile, so it wasn't going on. You just jump up on, because I've seen that, a bunch of morons jumping on top of the pile until it gets to be very high. So you just jump on to jump on. Yeah. And the person below you said, get off of me, and then there was a fight.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened as a result of that fight?
When we started fighting, he came.
Why were you fighting, by the way?
Ma'am?
We're going to get to you.
Okay.
We're going to get to you. Because we're going to refresh Doug's recollection if he can, because, Doug is how old?
15.
They got a lot of testosterone when they're 15.
Yes,
Sometimes it interferes with memory.
That's true.
So my question is, why were you fighting?
Because when I was getting up off the pile, a kid pushed me from the back.
Do you know who that was?
And it shows it on the tape.
Just a second. Do you know who that was?
No, I don't know.
All right, so he pushed you.
I do.
And what happened as a result of being pushed?
Me and another kid off the opposing team started fighting.
Not the kid who pushed you?
No.
This is all such an intelligent game. So somebody else pushed you and somebody from the other team, and you started to fight.
The one that said, get up, and I'm going to kick your butt.
Okay. And so the two of you were fighting. Punching each other?
Yes.
No, ma'am. There's no punching by my guy.
I'm going to get to you. Punching each other? What else were you doing to each other?
I'm pretty sure we just punched at the start.
Where were you punching each other?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. And then you say the defendant came up.
Yeah.
And what did the defendant do?
He grabbed me by my face mask and yanked me down to the ground, and then I was punched in the back.
Well, who punched you?
I think him.
So you don't know?
Absolutely not.
Just a second. You don't know who punched you?
The tape shows a struggle of some sort.
Just a second. I'm going to look at the tape. I'm asking him questions. He pulled you down by the mask, by that thing that you wear, and got you to the ground. And then somebody hit you when you were on the ground. Yes. But you don't know who hit you.
No.
He was still standing over him.
You were there, I assume, at the game. And then what happened?
And then the police officers went out and got all the players out of there and started talking to my dad, and then that was pretty much it. Everybody left.
Well, let me ask you this question, Doug.
Okay.
Before I look at the tape and before I hear the defendant, do you think you did anything wrong that day?
Yes.
What did you do wrong?
Instigated a fight, probably.
Reacted to another child's
Don't speak. You instigated a fight. And what do you think the defendant did on that day?
Assaulted me.
Did he try to stop the fight?
I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he try to stop the fight?
Yeah.
Now, do you think that if someone hadn't intervened, you and this other boy would have continued to fight?
Probably not. Because after that, everybody was out on the field. They had police officers and everything, so.
And who do you think started all of that?
Just me getting pushed in the back.
Listen, they play football and they slam into each other. They slam and they body slam and they jump on top of piles and everything else. And you got pushed.
But the play was over.
Just a second. You got pushed. Did you fall down and break anything when you got pushed?
No, ma'am.
Somebody just gave you a shove. You didn't even lose your footing, right?
I fell forward, but I didn't.
You didn't lose your footing. Yeah. You lurched a little bit. And then the fight was on. And then you were hurt.
Yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 15-year-old Doug Waller says opposing football coach Brad Zarbach assaulted him during a game. Brad says Doug started a fight with one of his players.
You were hurt? How were you hurt?
I was pulled down to the ground and punched.
Well, I heard that you were pulled down to the ground, and that he did, and he acknowledges that he grabbed you by a mask and immobilized you. We don't know who punched you.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the injuries that you sustained.
I have a...
Do you have a physician's report?
I'd like to see it, please.
I don't know what they're called.
Also, our doctor bills.
I'd like to see the report first. And I assumed that October 27th was the last day you played football.
Yes, ma'am.
That's probably a real good thing.
May I say
Chess
something?
may be a good thing. Yeah, I'm going to let you say something as soon as I hear the defendant. Okay, let me hear what you have to say.
In a nutshell, Your Honor, I'm a state licensed EMT. I fix kids that were hurt, and on this particular play, the number 6 on their team was hurt through the struggle of the fumble. And I was running out to the field. This kid was laying down and he wasn't moving.
You mean the kid under the pile?
Yeah, he was kind of on the bottom. One of the kids on the bottom of the pile. He was on from their team.
Speak slowly.
He got hurt in the crashes. I mean, everybody who's in the fumble gets, you know, often there's injuries that happen because of top of the head collisions.
So you ran out.
So I ran out, and I just got to the kid, number 6 on their team, to try to help him and figure out what was wrong. And then as I stood up, the kid, the number 6, got up and went away. And I guess he was all right. As I stood up and looked, I saw the defendant turn around and just start punching the quarterback. And there wasn't much of a fight because the quarterback was laying on the ground and he couldn't punch anybody. He was just trying to probably cover himself up. And at that time, I grabbed his face mask.
You mean he was standing up and punching him?
Yeah, the defendant was standing up and punching the guy on the ground. And the videotape shows that clearly. But there wasn't much of a fight because he was just beating on this poor quarterback of ours. So I got there. I thought, man, what do I do with this kid? I mean, look, he's wailing on this. I don't want to have 2 people to work on. So
You grabbed him by his face mask.
Grabbed him by his face mask. And face masks are engineered. Can I tell you a bit about face masks?
Don't tell me the whole thing. If you put your hand there, you can pull them down.
Yeah, you can pull them down. But also, they're engineered to stop at the breastplate of the shoulder pads so your head doesn't ever get hyperextended, so you don't ever have any problems. It's one of the designs of a football helmet, and that's why I brought it. Because this is pretty close to his football helmet. It just comes down onto the breastplate, so no, you know, this doesn't hurt anybody to do this. And if you want me to show you on some...
Don't show me, I understand. He doesn't claim that he was hurt as a result of having this done to him. He says he was punched.
Yeah, well, I didn't punch. So what happened, I got him on the ground, and I said, stop it, stop it, stop it. And then Coach Mathis came out and grabbed me and said, get off the field. So I let go of his face mask, picked up our quarterback, and ran to the sideline. And that was the end of the incident.
Who's Coach Mathis?
He's the president of the league and a coach.
Are you the coach for which team?
I'm the head coach for
our
Zarbach's team.
For your football team?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you wanted to say something.
Yes. As the gentleman was saying about the helmet, as he had my son's head down below his knees, that opened up a space between his shoulders and his head mask.
He was
as my son,
down.
my turn, please. As my son came off of the field, he was gagging and vomiting, which generally, unfortunately, as my medical bills say, is generally a head trauma.
He didn't have a head trauma.
A neck trauma, a head trauma. He has a concussion. It's what's written on the doctor's thing. If he had not grabbed my son, he should have been grabbing his own players. That is the referee's job to break up fights. Not this
like
gentleman to come out there. My son this is my youngest child. I have never physically assaulted my children, corporal punishment at all. If somebody was going to do that, he should have done that to his own players, not my son.
Okay, now just a second. Now I hear it. Now let me see the tapes.
But let me tell you one quick thing, can I? Please?
Yep.
After I got my team to the sideline, his coach had run over into the middle of the fracas, and apparently the defendant decided to bolt, and he started running straight toward me. Now, what his intentions were, I don't know, but he was on full speed. His coach grabbed him around his arms, and so he couldn't catch himself, and slammed him to the ground.
A 100-pound man versus 200-pound man.
Madam,
he's not a...
Madam.
He was a 200...
Listen, you know, you're not in the kindergarten class now defending your child.
He was a...
Shh. Listen to me. Doug. My eyes. Did your coach come out and restrain you at any point after this?
Yes, ma'am.
Shut up.
Thank you.
When did your coach come out to restrain you?
After the incident was pretty much over.
After
Well,
the defendant... Listen to me. I didn't finish the question. After the defendant immobilized you and got you to the ground, it was after that that your coach restrained you? Well, where were you when your coach had to restrain you?
Well, most of the teams were grouped together.
Yes.
I was in my side of the field, and there was still like a little kind of roughness going on.
So after... You're irritating me.
I'm sorry.
So after this whole thing happened, when you were nauseous and vomiting and everything else, after this, you were continuing the altercation because your coach came out and restrained you.
I vomited after that.
After your coach restrained you or before?
After.
Now, did your coach have to restrain anyone else?
Well, he grabbed kids and got them out of the fight.
Did he have to physically put his hands
No.
around anybody else other than you? So would it be fair to say, Doug, that you were the one who was involved in most of the acting out at that moment when your coach came over to restrain you?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what were you doing?
Just caught up in the moment.
No, not caught up with the moment. What were you doing when your coach came out to restrain you?
I was running over towards their side of the field.
Running over to do what?
Go after this guy, because
Go after which guy?
Zarbuck.
You were going over to the field to assault the defendant.
I was running over there, yes.
Well, what were you going to do?
I didn't really have it planned or anything.
You didn't have a plan. And how far did you run? Point to some place in this room. How far did you run before
Probably
the coach
from
restrained you?
their table to about halfway through my table.
And then the coach got you and restrained you. And other than putting his arms around you, what did he do to restrain you?
Well, he brought me to the ground and then...
He put his arms around you and brought you to the ground. Your coach. Yes. Now I'll see the tape. What number are you?
41. Right there. There's punching.
You're just pushed.
Just a second. Can we go back a second, please?
And there's Mr. Zarbuck.
Can we go back a second?
I'm not punching him at all.
Now start it. Everybody's getting up.
He gets pushed.
Who's on top now?
That's my coach.
That's your coach?
Yes, ma'am.
And who's on the bottom?
Me.
That's your coach?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any more on this tape you want me to see? Go ahead. So your coach got you down, threw you down.
If you listen to what the parents are saying.
What?
The parents are speaking in the tape.
I don't care what the parents
how
are saying.
How appalled they were and that he came out.
I don't care what the parents are saying. I'm looking to see who's on top of him and who got him to the ground, and it's the coach of his own team. Is there anything else on this tape? No. All right. You have a tape you want me to see?
I do. It's a different angle from our bench. Just shows how he's punching him. You can't see him laying on the ground. It's clean.
Now, when your coach got you down here, was that before or after the defendant got you down?
After.
After. Looked pretty healthy to me. Healthy enough for your coach to have to immobilize you. Can I see that tape, please, Bert? Is it all? Thank you.
Judge Judy?
Yeah?
I understand that this same incident has happened where he's gone out and assaulted a child during baseball.
Listen, I'm not interested.
Not.
Not interested.
Oh, my heck.
Not interested. I'm interested in October 27th.
When he gets up. That's basically it.
Even the coach was punching that behind you.
Okay. That's it.
Who's on the ground now?
That's him.
That's me.
He lays on him for 22 seconds.
Just a second. That's you on the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
And who's on top of you?
My coach.
Your coach. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
I excuse you.
Các em thân mến, chào mừng các em đến với video mới của cô ngày hôm nay nhé. Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau giải quyết một bài toán là bài toán tính nhanh, và chúng ta sẽ dựa vào cái biểu thức này để chúng ta cần phải sử dụng tính chất gì của phép gì để chúng ta giải quyết bài toán. Đây là hai thừa số với hai hiệu của hai tích, đúng không nào? Và ở đây chúng ta thấy rằng là ở đây có số 21 và số 21 là giống nhau này. Số 2024 đến 2024 là giống nhau này. Vậy thì ở đây các em sẽ biết được là chúng ta nên sử dụng là tìm thừa số nào trúng trước. Ở đây thừa số trúng của hai biểu thức là 2024 thì chúng ta sẽ dựa vào cái tính chất là A nhân cho C trừ cho A nhân cho trừ A nhân cho C, đúng không ạ? Thì cái này sẽ được là A nhân cho B trừ C, đúng không nào? Đúng không ạ? Vậy thì ở đây chúng ta sẽ có biểu thức D sẽ bằng 2024 nhân cho 321 trừ 21, đúng không nào? Đó, ở đây chúng ta sẽ bằng 2024 nhân cho 300, đúng không? Đấy, nếu như các em chưa đặt được cái phép tính thì chúng ta sẽ biết được rằng là đấy không phải là nhân với một số có 3 chữ số, mà số này là số đặc biệt, số tròn trăm. Vì thế kết quả bao giờ cũng sẽ có 2 số không ở cuối, đúng không ạ? Và bây giờ chúng ta sẽ tiến hành lấy 2024 nhân cho 3 là chúng ta sẽ có kết quả 4 nhân 3 12 để 2 nhớ 1. Ở đây là gồm một lớp rồi thì lớp tiếp theo chúng ta sẽ cách một đoạn. 4 nhân 3 12 để 2 nhớ 1, 2 nhân 3 là 6, nhớ 1 là 7. 0 nhân 3 bằng 0. Và 2 nhân 3 4 nhân 3 12 viết 2 nhớ 1. Bây giờ là 2 nhân 3 là 6. Kết quả bài toán của chúng ta là 607.200, đúng không ạ? Và ở đây các em nhớ này, cái tính chất kết hợp của phép nhân ở đây thì các em luôn luôn chú ý là chúng ta phải nhớ đây là sự tương quan giữa phép nhân và phép trừ. Mối quan hệ giữa phép nhân và phép trừ ở trong phép nhân của số tự nhiên mà các em cần phải lưu ý. Và khi các em trình bày thì các em cũng có thể là chúng ta không cần viết cái dòng công thức chung này, đây là kiến thức chúng ta cần nhớ thôi. Còn trong bài toán thì chúng ta viết thẳng từ biểu thức B này xuống biểu thức B này luôn nhé.